The home of Dirt and Sprague, always live on the Odyssey app, is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland, 1080 The Fan, an Odyssey sports station.
Grounder to short. Dansby to first. There it is. No hitter.
This is Dirt and Sprague.
I think she was just curious about the profession. And I don't think any of the outline, I know none of the plays have gotten to Coach Reed yet. But if they ever do, I'll make sure everyone knows it was her creation.
With Andy Dirt Johnson and Brendan Sprague.
Anybody that really knows me is that I'd trade 2/3, a third of whatever percent you want to call of what the Cowboys are supposed to be worth to get us to get one of those Super Bowls.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right. 6:02 in Rip City. Good morning. How we doing? Sorry, I got thrown off there.
What is happening?
Got thrown off for a second.
Easily distracted this morning.
Easily distracted.
Yeah. Eyes ahead. Eyes over here. Eyes over here.
I blanked out for a second there.
We're doing a show. We're here.
Happening?
It's a Thursday. We're live on the air.
What day is it?
It
Thursday?
It is Thursday.
Watching
Thursday.
the traffic report? Is
Let me
there a
check.
big accident
Nah,
or
just
bridge
watching the
closure?
news.
Just keeping an eye on the news. Yeah, it's Thursday, September 5th, according to my my phone. We're not
I
wrong
did
on the
see
date.
a bunch of alerts I got last night that several schools in east side of Clackamas County will be getting out early today because their air conditioning systems are not adequate for 100 degrees.
That sounds about right.
Now, hold on. Let me – I don't know if I knew about this.
Yes,
I'm a
this is-
parent in this description.
I think your school might fall into this category.
Estacada School District,
heat-related
the Colton
information. Here
School
it is.
District.
Everybody get them out of there, man.
Yeah, I've been the one designated. So I believe one person associated with each station in the building gets the emergency flash traffic. So road closures, school closures, all that stuff. And I was designated as that person.
We have a normal day today.
Normal day,
normal
not
day
an
for
early
us.
release
Yeah, there were
day.
a lot of
Your air conditioning works
elementary
in,
schools being done at lunchtime.
Well, I don't mean to sound hoity-toity, but my kid's school is in Happy Valley. Do
Yeah,
you
they got
think
new
they're
schools.
not gonna have?
They got new schools. This to me, Estacada makes sense. I see that. This a lot of Portland schools. Let's be honest. Northeast Portland.
Shout out my roots.
Let's we're trying to rebuild those schools one at a time. It's going to take us about 75 years to get there. But
Whatever.
let's check the pipes and the AC in those old buildings.
What
How
is,
about that? We'll
right.
just go from there.
Right.
What's Madison called now? The one out on 82nd?
New Madison?
The new Madison.
I forgot who they named that one after.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
I don't remember
it's
that
gorgeous. I was
Yeah,
playing
they've
Rose City Golf Course. It's right next to Rose City Golf Course. So you get over there on the back nine,
Their
and
football stadium
butts up against the
renovation
fields.
was quite nice.
McDaniel, I believe.
McDaniel, there you
McDaniel
go.
High School.
Yes,
now,
it's been completely redone, and it's quite nice.
My alma mater is it's coming up soon. I think they're going to rebuild Cleveland at some point in the next handful of years.
they're doing
Good
one
luck with that.
school
How are you
a
going to do
year,
that
I
in that
think.
area?
Good luck with that. It's like 4 city blocks.
5 of the 8 have been completely redone.
Slowly, and then they send the kids to Marshall for a year while they rebuild, or 2 years, however long it takes, which that would totally suck. Like to be in high school and not be able to go to your actual high school,
Especially
and you're in a
if you were
different
like
high school.
Especially if he's senior year.
Senior year
Yeah.
would suck.
Yeah.
Now I think they do paint the school like every year they redo
paint
it
their
and paint it
colors
your
and
school
stuff.
colors, so it at least kind of feels like your school, but not quite the same. I don't know how you're going to rebuild Cleveland. There's not a lot of room to move over there.
So that's what they do at Marshall now? Since
they do.
It's no longer a school. They just use it as like a hub for...
It's the hub.
Oh.
And you play your athletic events there, football games, all that stuff goes on there. So it's just it's an empty school, and then it's filled up with kids for 2 years while they rebuild the other school, and then they start the next one and bring. I think Lincoln was the last one they just finished, if I'm not wrong.
Lincoln's
Lincoln
been
got done.
redone.
Lincoln
I know
is
Franklin
beautiful.
was redone a few years ago.
Yeah, Franklin's been redone. McDaniel's been redone.
But it's not
Grant.
Franklin anymore, right?
No.
I don't know what they call that one.
They're the Thunder.
No, it's still Franklin. They just are not the Quakers
not the
anymore.
No, that's
Quakers.
right. They're like the
They're
Thunder
the
or
Lightning,
something.
the
Yeah,
Franklin
Lightning.
Lightning.
Is that what it is?
A little hot PIL talk right out of the gate. My mom brought over yesterday. She's still going through old stuff. You know what she brought over? I had totally forgotten about this. I hadn't seen it in 10 years. She brought over my Letterman's jacket.
What are you going to do with that?
I mean, I don't know. I did try it on, and it still fits.
Still
a
fits.
little snug, but it fits. I could get the buttons done, and it's, you know.
Do anything for Michelle there, or did she just roll her eyes and completely
Get
turn
the
around?
T-top out and then put it on. Hey, you want to go for a ride?
May or may not have come home to be naked, just wearing a Letterman's jacket. I don't know.
Disturbing
Just,
mentally.
Hey, babe, what's up?
Don't want to think about that at all.
Happy hump day.
I did come in feeling. I did feel a little guilty. I got to be honest with you guys on this Thursday. I'm sorry for the rough start to the show. I was distracted by the news, and then my brain blanked on how I usually start the show.
What words do I use here?
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel really genuinely bad. Dirt gave us a directive.
Well, it was not. It was more of an offer. I put an offer on the table.
Yeah, you did.
You could accept or deny. I'm okay being the lone wolf here.
Well, but I still feel bad because I was like, oh, I'll do that. I'll participate in that. Sounds fun.
Good idea.
And then my Thursday went differently, and my two kids were up at 4:45, and I just kind of blanked on wearing NFL attire at all.
Well, I just figured we do
and
it.
Now you look like a weirdo.
I'm the only one wearing a jersey now.
No,
I'm wearing my Herbert jersey. I feel like we do this for opening day in baseball, and I was like, why don't we do this for football? The other part of it for me was the wife got this for me like 2 years ago for Christmas, and it was a very awesome gift. I love Herbert.
You just haven't worn it much.
I just don't ever wear it. Like, when do I ever wear a Herbert?
Occasion to wear it.
Just sitting around the house wearing a Herbert
I'm more
jersey.
likely to do it for the opening day of the hockey season.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
In here in
we
a
can rock
Kraken
hockey
jersey.
jerseys that day. I got some hockey jerseys to choose from.
I own no sweaters.
I'll bring a hockey sweater in for you.
I don't know if I
Do
want
you
it.
need to
Come
pick a
on.
hockey team? Do we need to do that?
I did.
Who'd you pick?
The Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that's right. He is a Maple Leafs fan.
I'm a Maple Leafs fan.
Get this guy an Austin Matthews jersey.
We're breaking the curse this year.
This is the year,
bitch.
According to Ken Barkley, they're winning the Stanley Cup.
Hey, you
right.
know what? He said that. I was like, oh, okay. My
Take
part
that
of
to the bank.
Part of our parlay right there.
Are you happy with the white selection, or would you have preferred the baby blue?
Baby blue or the navy blue?
Probably prefer baby blue, but not because of the way it looks on me. More so of just if I am to be wearing this watching football and I spill something, little less obvious. Now it still stands out with baby blue, but you know me. I'm a slob, and so there's a high probability there's going to be a coffee stain on this thing by the end of the show.
Well, my hot take, I think, on the Chargers, and it might actually be a really hot take, is that they should go back to their 90s uniforms.
They absolutely should.
I think those are better. I've never liked when they wear the yellow pants. Everybody likes that, and I've never liked that.
The Fouts era, 80s.
Well, like
Air Coryell
the
stuff.
powder blue, baby blue ones are fine, but like when they do like the white top with
Not a
the
fan of the
yellow
yellow
pants,
pants, huh?
I'm just not. I don't think that's a good look at all.
Oh, I like the navy blue with the yellow pants. But yeah, if they wear white, they should wear the all whites.
You want the Junior Seau getting
want the
drilled in
Junior
the
Seau-
Super Bowl Charger jerseys?
Well, LaDainian Tomlinson Jr. Seau jersey.
Yeah, the darker blue.
I thought it was a badass look.
Yeah, they almost have, like, for an NFL team, it's almost like it's inventory overload. They got too much to choose from. I feel like most NFL teams are pretty simple, and you go through the Chargers Rolodex of jerseys, there's a dark blue, a light blue, a white. I mean, there's a lot going on.
It can't be worse than the Jags or the Titans.
No, I'm not saying their jerseys are worse. I think their jerseys are fine.
I'm talking about the
Rolodex
inventory.
to choose from?
Yeah.
Do the Jags have a lot to choose from?
I think the Jags have like 5 or 6 different types of uniform.
Do they?
Yeah, they have the current.
White, black, teal.
They had that weird faded one with Blake Bortles for a while.
Well, they don't wear those anymore.
They had the 90s
do
ones.
No, I'm saying that they
charcoal
still
gray
currently
ones?
wear. Like, I think the Chargers have like 5 different jerseys that they wear right now.
Do they really?
Maybe not 5. Maybe I'm over
It's
exaggerating.
just the white and the blue,
Oh,
and then
it
they
was
alternate.
three.
Well, they have 2
pants.
shades of blue. I know that.
Yeah.
And they have white. And they have
I
multiple
think teams
different
are
helmets,
only
too.
allowed 3. So you're allowed a home and away, for lack of a better term, and then a throwback.
Or an alternate.
Yeah, usually it's a throwback is the
Yeah.
alternate.
Yeah, I'm not. When they go it throws you off because every week you look at them and they're a little bit different. It's like not anybody else in the NFL is this way. Throwbacks are one thing, but they don't go the throwback route. They're alternate.
Well, their
jerseys
baby
just
blues are their throwbacks.
but it's also
essentially.
their main jersey though, so it's not really a throwback.
Yeah, they made it their permanent.
It's now their permanent
That's good.
jersey.
You know, the weird thing about you wearing that isn't that it's Herbert. I get it, but like you're also not a Charger fan.
Well, I'm renting as a Charger fan. I'm not buying. I don't own the property here, but I got a deposit down.
Kind of what the
I got a
Chargers
lease.
are doing in Los Angeles, but
I got a lease for a few years here. You
Really?
know? I mean, it's not going to be permanent roots. I'm not I'm not staying here forever. We will eventually move, but for the time being, I got a lease on the apartment.
You don't seem very interested in the Chargers' futures, which is surprising because they have Harbaugh.
They do have Harbaugh, and they got Herbert.
Usually anything with Harbaugh, you're like all in, and you're like, well, I don't know about the Chargers.
I mean, I'm excited about the Chargers this year. Very excited.
Are you?
I am a Charger fan, but it's only because of Herbert. When Herbert's gone or if he retires or something happens, I will no
Are you
longer
also still a Niner
support
fan?
this ass organization. I will always be a Niner fan. Always.
Are you becoming like I've kind of done this a little bit in sports in my life. I've just kind of like become root for my favorite players and storyline guy.
I mean, I'm definitely that way in the NFL. I'm not a diehard 49er fan by any stretch of the imagination.
I only am if the game has real stakes. Like,
yeah, Super Bowl.
I'm a mess.
Yeah, Super Bowl was tough.
But also, the Chiefs win, and I turn to my wife and I go, they have the best quarterback in the world. Like, what am I going to get mad about this?
It doesn't affect my life the way if Oregon loses to Boise State, I will be in shambles. The Niners losing a big game, it's like, it sucks. I root for them to win, but I
might be solo Monday if your team loses this weekend.
It does not. If I had to come in and do a show after losing twice to Washington last year, I think I could survive a Boise State loss.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know. I know Washington hurts a different way. I get it, but
Pac-12 championship game, chance to win a national title on the line.
Barely beat
He
Idaho.
runs for 204 tutties on the Ducks.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not
Ashton
saying
Jainty beat you at Autzen. It's gonna be. You guys will be the story of college football if you lose
they will.
that game.
And then people will quickly forget about them.
Florida State, hold our beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. That's still not even close in comparison to the painful of loss. Not even close. It's the second week of the season.
I actually conducted a bit of a study yesterday.
Yeah, what do you got?
A little study, not a big study.
Not exactly scientific.
Let me ask you this, because I have a duck thing. We won't get into too much duck beaver stuff today. We like to holster that for Fridays. I do have a duck thing to get to at 6:45.
Okay.
And so I'll kind of just rip a little piece of the duck thing and throw it at you now. What would be worse, you think? You're a diehard fan. What would be worse? Having an 0 season or, quite literally, the most memorable worst loss in a sports history? So had Oregon lost to Idaho, that would be the worst loss in college football history at a major level, and it's not particularly close. But the Huskies have had an 0-12 season. Now, I know you could throw in the Montana joke here, but given the circumstance of Oregon and the hype, had they lost to Idaho, what would be worse to you as a fan, an 0 season or the worst loss ever that everybody remembers and cites the rest of their sports lives?
I think I would. Oh, God.
I asked a group of Husky fans that I have in my life, and they said, look, 0-12 is an absolute blemish on our lives. We kind of knew that team sucked.
Yeah.
And Ty Willingham.
See, I
But the loss is, they picked the loss.
The loss.
You do not want the worst loss of all time.
Yeah, I think I would lean the 0-12 season being worse.
Really?
Like not winning a single game for the entire year.
Yeah.
For the entire season. It's not excusing the loss to an FCS team, which would be all-time embarrassing, and everybody would cite that. But just from a fandom standpoint, like you could still go, like Michigan lost to Appalachian State. That was one of the most memorable games in the history of college football.
Yeah.
That team ended up going like 9-3 and winning the Outback Bowl. Like they ended up, Oregon drilled them the next week. They ended up having an okay year. I think they beat Ohio State that year. Like they ended up cobbling things together and having a decent season.
Right.
So everybody will always remember that. But at least as a fan, you had other things during the season that you could enjoy. I can't imagine turning my team on 12 times in a year and watching all of them be losses.
But is it okay.
Like not even one? Just give me one win over like any random team.
But you're taking the context out of it. You're giving me the Michigan example, which is fair. You have to remember that Husky team was not very good.
The one that went 0-12 or the one that lost in
0-12.
Montana?
No, the 0-12.
Oh, they were
one.
terrible. Yeah.
The Montana one is also a separate one where it's like
Well, that's what
we
I'm
thought
saying,
we were
like-
okay, and then oh my god, we lost to Montana. We knew it was bad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think if you're 0-12, that's the realization that you're the worst team in the sport, potentially.
Yes, you are.
Not just having one bad day and then potentially winning other games. So while still embarrassing, the acknowledgement that you literally are the worst team in the sport and maybe in the history of the conference, that's I wouldn't want that. I would choose. Give me the FCS
You take
random
the
loss.
worst No, it's
Yes.
not random FCS. It's the
Worst loss.
in
I
college
would rather
football
have
history.
that than being 0-12.
I'm going to put that up as a poll question today. I think it's an interesting one. We got to go. We have a lot to get to today. It is a busy program. Tons of football. The NFL season is back in our lives, if you could tell by Dirt wearing the Justin Herbert Charger jersey. So let's get it going. A lot to discuss. Dirt and Sprague. We start next on The Fan.
No sputtering for the Ducks and Beavers. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, NFL kickoff is here today. Chiefs-Ravens. We'll get to that coming up. Pretty excited about that.
Can't wait, man. It's going to be a fun night.
The numbers are in. How we feel about this. We'll get to that coming up. The margin of victory to satisfy fans. I want to ask that question to one person on this program. We'll get to that today. And I got some NFL odds and ends to discuss. I want to talk a little bit about a couple quarterbacks, team expectations, one team in the Pacific Northwest. It's really the only team in the Pacific Northwest. And so we'll get to that coming up. I do want to start with a couple little college football leftovers.
Yeah, what you got?
Kalen DeBoer, Jonathan Smith. Did we see both in week one action at new teams?
I did not watch a second of the Alabama game. I watched every second of the Michigan State game.
So you saw the struggle bus that was Michigan State and Aiden Childs not being able to throw the ball 15 yards down the field.
It was rough. He threw an interception on literally his first pass of the season. It wasn't that bad of a throw, kind of a weird deflected ball, but it was picked off, and it was funny to kind of see the immediate reaction after the game of welcome to new life as a coach at a bigger program. And it was Michigan State fan immediately rushing to social media to bitch about his decision to go for it on fourth down when they were up by 6 in the fourth quarter against a quarterback who literally couldn't throw the football for FAU. And he had a chance to kick a field goal and go up by 9, make it a 2-score game with however many minutes to go. I can't remember exactly how much time was on the clock. They went for it on fourth. They got stopped, and it ended up being a dogfight all the way till the end, where if he kicks a field goal there, the game is likely over. I think it was just a reminder of this. It's going to be a really rough year for them, but if you're the long-term approach, you might be okay. If you're expecting things in year one with Jonathan Smith, God bless you, buddy. They're going to lose a lot of football games this year. It's not a good team. Aiden Childs is going to have to take his lumps, and it's just that's what they signed up for, and so you got to be really patient.
I was a little surprised how bad he was.
See, and I wasn't. I just, that's his first career start. I know that he played okay.
He played last year.
One series a game is a little bit different than having all the expectations of a new fan base on your shoulders and being the guy that defenses are going to game plan against and target.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to be nervous and have expectation that you haven't experienced. I think it's another to not be able to complete passes. He just didn't look good.
He was 10 of 24 for 114 yards and 2 interceptions.
Like, I watched him play, and his throws were atrocious.
Yeah,
and I went, whoa, that's not what all I thought I'd see from him.
Their offensive line isn't very good. Who's their best wide receiver? How did they run the football? I know they had a dude who broke a 63-yard run, and that helped their overall average yards per carry. But outside of that, they kind of struggled to run the football at times in that game as well. And so he doesn't have a lot of help, and he's going to have to learn on the fly. And it's not an easy thing to do. Not many quarterbacks step in right away, especially if you're playing for a bad team, and immediately have success. We've seen this around the country. Look at Dante Moore last year at UCLA. It was an absolute dumpster fire. That guy was the number one quarterback in the country coming out of high school. Look at Rashada at Arizona State and how bad he was. I wouldn't be shocked at all if we saw that kind of year from Childs.
The thing about DeBoer that I find interesting is watching Florida State. And the reason I say that is, remember, when they hired him, there was a moment where Greg Byrne was basically asked about the process. And I was reading tea leaves, but I think if you go listen to it, it does kind of sound like their number one target was Norvell.
Yeah.
And DeBoer was probably a close second, but Norvell signed an extension with Florida State. And so they pivoted and they went and got DeBoer. And it's not that Norvell won't ever win again or be good, but man, if you're a Bama fan and you had some thought that it was going to be Norvell instead of DeBoer, how are you feeling? Even though it's been one game for DeBoer.
One game against Western Kentucky. We're doing it. Oh, we made the right hire.
Well, but think about how they would feel if like, looking at what Florida State and Norvell are after just one great season, there is a little bit of like, yeah, it is Western Kentucky, but also Florida State went undefeated, and now look at them. They can't beat anybody.
They can't, no. What I would say, though, is at least, like, Kalen DeBoer struggled mightily to recruit high school players when he was at Washington. That was his big weakness there. And I think that was the question that I and other people brought up when he was hired at Alabama. If you just went undefeated and you barely had a recruiting class ranked in the top 25. Like, how is this going to work? You got to recruit at a top 5 level there. And that's exactly what he's done in Tuscaloosa. And I think it's a reminder that that's right. The Alabama brand still means something. It's still going to be able to recruit itself no matter how you are in high school recruiting at another location. And so that's the only caveat I would add to that. They definitely feel good, But like if Mike Norvell was the head coach at Alabama with that level of talent, they win that game 63-0 too. And I think he would be recruiting at a high level as well.
You don't think there's any difference?
I'm not saying there's no difference, but I don't think that Alabama would have struggled in week 1 had they hired Mike Norvell.
Yeah,
and I think they would have had very high expectations had they hired Mike Norvell.
They're winning. But I think it's a tiny difference, but like I just don't think that's Norvell.
To win 63-0 against Western Kentucky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He just went undefeated last year. He had a pretty good season.
How many games they narrowly win?
A lot of them. How many games did Kalen DeBoer narrowly win?
A lot of them.
A lot of his schedule.
Yeah.
Almost every single one after like week 4.
One made the playoff.
He did. The other one should have made the playoff.
No, you said they shouldn't.
Yeah, I see the overall point, and you're definitely happy if you're a Bama fan. Kalen DeBoer is seemingly a really good hire so far because he's recruiting, and we know about his X's and O's ability.
That's the big thing, I think, for him, all jokes aside from Western Kentucky, is the fact that like they have that Courtney Morgan dude.
Yeah, it's a built-in machine, man. Alabama's going to recruit itself. You could be an idiot and still land 5-star kids there because they're coming off of a college football playoff in the greatest dynasty we've ever seen in the history of the sport and probably will ever see. I'm really excited to watch Alabama in the weeks to come. Like they play South Florida this week, whatever. They're going to win 57-0. Wisconsin should be a bloodbath. Wisconsin struggled in week 1.
Terrible.
But whenever you go on the road in a tough environment, like it's just different. And
Van Dyke looked awful.
He looked terrible, and they were lucky to beat a really bad. I think who they play? Western Michigan, I believe, in their first game.
Who did they play?
Exactly. And then so you go on the road to Wisconsin next week, and then you get a bye week, and then you play Georgia. And so they're like right out of the frying pan into the whatever the phrase is, into the fire. That's exactly what Alabama is in 2 weeks. And so I didn't see any of their Western Kentucky game though because they did exactly what they're supposed to do.
I'm kind of curious how you differentiate coaches. Is it just Kirby Smart and everybody else, or they're like, do you have tiers when you think of coaches?
Yeah, I think there's a 1 tier and then a jumbled together
there's
2
like
tier.
One guy,
it's Kirby Smart,
and then the next is just a bunch of dudes.
DeBoer, Sark. I mean, go down the list. I think there's a chunk of coaches that fall into that category in tier 2. And
it's like Sark is no different than DeBoer to you.
No, not at all.
Kiffin is.
No, I think a lot of it depends on the place you're at, the job you took over, the roster you had intact. Like all these things are important factors for whether or not you could win. And the Norvell stuff, like he is a good punching bag right now, but he also brought Florida State out from the end of a really ugly Jimbo Fisher era, which thing was crashing, to Willie Taggart to 4 years in, he makes it undefeated to a college football playoff. Now the concern is he's really only won with Jordan Travis, and he's got to go find another quarterback.
See, this is what sucks. I have to interrupt you. Didn't make the playoff.
Okay, but should have made the playoff. He was 13. Sure, in an expanded field, they went 12-0, 13-0 in the regular season. Like that's incredible. But he's only won with one quarterback, and so that's the thing that he's got to get over is that he's got to go find that next signal caller that can help his team win.
I think the other part too. You noted this before the show. What they spent, they're leaking that they spent $12 million on their team.
$12 million this year.
And Josh Pate yesterday said, it's like dinner and dessert. It sounds fun to have as much dessert as dinner, but it's in theory not a good idea.
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting with me with all of these coaches, probably Kirby Smart separated, is like how they figure out how to move on and rebuild. Do you have enough high school, star ranking kids behind you for your depth to just naturally step up, or how much of the portal you're hitting? And Norvell clearly calculated wrong.
He absolutely did.
And that's the interesting thing is like those decisions, though, are going to be what knock certain coaches down for people in their minds. Like if DeBoer's here in 2 years and he just hits the portal hard instead of having high school recruiting and Bama's like, meh, it's going to be the same thing with him.
Exactly. It's such a tough putt to try and figure out how to put your roster together. And quarterback play is so mightily important. That's the one thing I think you at least give DeBoer credit for. In recruiting, he's been able to find like blue chip recruits so far at that position, but that's what has bit Norvell the most. Like I think if you had an elite quarterback on that Florida State roster, they still have issues, but I think there's a little bit more belief. You got a guy that can make plays in big moments.
They're beating Boston.
They're beating Boston College, and that Georgia Tech game they had, it was tied with 5 minutes ago. It's not like they got blown out. And so if you had a difference maker at that position, maybe you're 2-0 at this point in the season. We're having a different conversation, but DJ is not the kind of quarterback that can plug up holes on your roster. And that, I think, is what they're learning the hard way, is that their defensive line wasn't as good as they thought. The running game wasn't as good as they thought. And so now we're leaning on a quarterback who is not a true number one alpha. And it's just that's a really bad recipe for them.
The numbers are in. How we feel about these, we'll tell you what they are and discuss it next on The Fan.
Now, Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, the 2024 NFL regular season officially kicks off tonight in Kansas City, where Chiefs fans will watch another Super Bowl banner be raised. Then move their eyes to Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and company, trying to become the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 consecutive titles. They'll host the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC Championship game rematch. Kickoff at 5:20 on KGW Channel 8. Chiefs 3-point favorites. Without a contract extension, Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase suited up at practice in Cincinnati on Wednesday, participating in some drills, leading to speculation he could play in Sunday's opener against the Patriots. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert said the plantar fasciitis he dealt with in the preseason is gone. His foot is 100% for their season opener against the Raiders. American Jessica Pegula took down top-seeded Iga Swiatek and reached her first Grand Slam semifinal with a straight-set win in the U.S. Open quarterfinal. She'll face unseeded Karolina Muchova in the second semifinal today. First up, fellow American Emma Navarro will face the second seed Arina Sabalenka of Belarus. Coverage will start at 4 o'clock this afternoon on ESPN. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app. The Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Is there a number that satisfies you? We'll get to that coming up. The NFL kicks off tonight. We've got Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes to start the NFL season. Pretty jacked up and fired about that. Rod Hill's on my TV screaming, football!
Football's on!
Football!
It's going to be a hot one to grill today, so make sure you're ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know what to do for dinner. I'm kind of stumped.
Yet.
Swigard's leaning into the Baltimore-Kansas City thing. You've got your nacho.
I'm going to do nachos on Sunday. I don't know. I'm either doing wings today or tri-tip. I'm not sure. I haven't decided.
I don't know, man. I made
Either
steak last night. I don't know what to do.
Just keep me. I may do steak again. Double
Steak tacos.
Steak tacos. There you go. I'm
Good
talking. Here we go.
So we'll get to that coming up at the top of the hour. The numbers are in. The CW's got college football in a major way locally here.
The WB.
And after Moesha ended, we've got Washington State, Portland State, and then after that, we got Idaho State, Oregon State. And so this is kind of their pseudo network.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers are in. This one from @Sports TV Ratings. They got 45,000 followers and confidently responded to people on other games. So I'm going to take them at their word.
I follow this guy. This dude's legit.
It's legit.
He's a legit sports media reporter that reports TV ratings.
Well, I saw some beer friend.
This other account hasn't tweeted anything. How do you know this is true?
Well, I don't know. You could just, believe it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Last week's CW sports programming viewership, volleyball, 213,000. Portland State, Washington State, 223,000.
Better than volleyball.
Inside the NFL, Bill Belichick's debut on that show,
yes.
267,000. Idaho State Bungles at Oregon State, he forgot the R, 381,000.
You're better than Bill Belichick.
Somebody asked in the comments any report on the Washington Weber State game.
Yeah, they were 300-something, I think.
306, but it is important to note Washington and Oregon could not watch those games on the Big Ten Network.
Or California, maybe even Idaho. I don't know how far over that thing goes.
So, yes, it was blanked out on one of the major cable providers, and they got 306. So, I don't know. I saw a bunch of different takes yesterday on this. I don't know how to gauge this. I thought that number's fine for Idaho State, but I saw other people saying, not great. I saw other people say, I thought it was going to be better than that. And I don't know how to track any of this for people.
It's a holiday weekend. It's Idaho State. Let's,
Yeah, look, I mean, I understand the argument that anything Oregon State and Washington State can do to show eyeballs is mightily important to their long-term health and getting an invite to a conference. I think we're picking the wrong sample size to point to, though.
Is the TV viewership, this is where I got hung up.
Yeah.
I understand that eyeballs matter, but if Oregon State's 10-2, is that less important than what were their average eyeballs?
I don't know. I would say probably, because I don't think any of this stuff makes sense anyways. It should be about what you accomplish on the field, but that has not really been the case in a lot of conference realignment. UCLA football, as an example, we just went the LA market. They get an invite with USC.
Sure.
Well, the last time UCLA football was relevant, been a long time. So The game that I would more so circle, like this week they're on the CBS Sports Network. Then they play the Civil War on Fox, and so I'm sure that rating will be solid, depending on what the two teams do going into it.
But Oregon's going to get the credit for that rating, even though, I think that's...
Yeah, but, I mean, maybe for some fans, but for TV executives, they'll look at it and say Oregon State played in a game that got X number of viewers. I mean, that's, when you play USC historically is usually the main reason people watch, but you could say, look, we got a good rating on that game when USC was in town. The one that I'm more so looking at just for a CW breakthrough ratings-wise will be the game after the Civil War. It's when you play Purdue. That game is on the CW network. I think it's a primetime 5 o'clock, 5:30 kick, so it's good kick time. Should be a good crowd in Corvallis. Like, that to me will give a better indication of how many eyeballs are you attracting? It is a channel that is available everywhere, so you're just flipping through. You're going to see the CW. Look at that. There's an Oregon State game. I also wonder how much of interest there is for random sports fans out there of having Tom Brenneman back calling games. That's a little unique. Nobody thought he was ever going to work a game.
Brenneman this bump?
I'm giving him a little bump. I'm giving a little Brenneman bump. I am. I know that was part of the reason tuning in.
Knew he was doing this game?
I did. I think most of our audience did.
I think we're in bubble.
Maybe I'm in a bubble there, but that was part of it for tuning in for me. I'm like, Tom Brenneman's calling a game. This is weird. It's going to take a long time to get used to. I'm not going to make fun of them for having 300,000 viewers for an Idaho State game in week 1 because that's an FCS opponent. When they play Purdue, if that game on the 21st of September has 212,000 viewers on the CW network.
How would it have less than Idaho
I don't
State?
know. I'm just saying that to me is when you can make fun of this and joke about it. But if that number goes up, I don't think you got nothing to worry about.
I think I concluded it's a good number because anything with the NFL in the title and you beating it is just like, hey, how about that? Look at us.
Well, you played Idaho State.
State's
Like it's Idaho. Why
terrible.
would anybody want to watch that game unless you're a Beaver fan?
Well, I was surprised the number was as high as it was, to be honest with you.
I mean, if we didn't cover Oregon State, I would not. How many FCS games did you go close to on like the SEC network watching them live?
Well, here's the other part of this too. Well, not very many to answer your question.
Exactly.
So 306 with Washington not having Comcast available on the Big Ten network.
They were also an 11 Eastern kick.
So I don't mean any disrespect by asking or saying this. Like, even if it had freed up to Comcast, how many more is that number?
50, 75K maybe.
Okay, so it's right at the same
Somewhere in there.
number as Oregon State,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to the Big Ten network to play Weber State. So I don't know. I think some of this stuff is a little ridiculous because of what you said. I don't think the people making the decisions really fully grasp how they're making these decisions.
No.
This is not, well, Stanford averaged this many viewers per game for a decade.
No, that was a Bay Area and
not what
academic
they
thing.
did. It was entirely just San Francisco TV market. We want in.
Yeah.
So here you go. Here's your lifeline to the ACC. The Big Ten was the same thing. UCLA didn't do anything in football for a decade, but LA market, here you go. So this whole like holding Oregon State and Washington State some standard, like if they don't have a certain amount of viewers, they're going to lose out. They may have already lost out because guess what? It's already happened once and they lost out.
Yes.
So I don't think like, oh, they're damned because they only had 380,000 viewers. They're not getting in the Big 12 now. I don't think that's how this works. I don't think that's how any of this is going to work. And if they get into one of these major conferences, it's going to be based on West Coast time zones, TV windows, not so much what the market or what the average was. It's going to be about what makes sense for expansion purposes to maybe make our conferences that are out west make more sense for the windows and for the matchups.
I think the most important things for them are winning as many games as humanly possible to stay as relevant as you can. And when you play a game that is a recognizable opponent and it's in a good TV window, trying to grab as many eyeballs as you can.
Win.
And hopefully win.
Yeah.
That is not the case with Idaho. You played Idaho State, man. Yeah. You played Idaho State. I don't imagine the rating will be great this week. It's a 7:30 kick, CBS Sports Network, but maybe I'm wrong on that. You did blow out, so I think it was True TV or TNT had their first game this weekend, and it was like San Jose State versus somebody random, and that number was horrific.
Was it really? Sacramento State.
Sacramento
That was
State.
a night game, though, wasn't it?
I think it was a night game.
Yeah,
They had like
7 or
60K, I want to say, that watched that game, so I was like,
Yeah, because, I mean, I that's good. I thought that number was higher than I thought because it was Idaho State. And I'm like, no offense, but if you don't have no ties to the school, why would you watch this game?
The games you're going to circle for Oregon State this year, as I mentioned, Purdue on the 21st. The Oregon game should have a good number. It's on Fox. And then I think you fast forward to the end of the year, your last two games. Washington State, depending on how the two teams are. And then the final game of the season is at Boise on Fox. So you got another nationally all of them are nationally televised because the CW network is. But you get my point on a more connected football channel. And so those are the games that you'll be judged on. But who the hell knows what conferences and commissioners are looking for because none of it makes sense.
Felt very Pac-12-ish watching the channel.
It did.
Pac-12 network-ish.
It did. I mean, I think a lot of the crew was probably people from the Pac-12 network.
Well, I don't mean like the people like aren't. I don't mean a disrespectful way at the people. It's not I'm just like the visual and the feel of it. So it's the cameras.
I think they're using the Pac-12 studio.
Well, the studio stuff.
Yeah, Yammer's back. Our boy Yammer's back doing
there.
halftime on the CW.
I'm talking about the game quality, the way it looked. It's
I
it
think
felt very Pac-12
I think
network.
it's the Pac-12 network,
just like the
they
shells of it and
used
using it. Okay,
to produce the show or televise it.
Yeah, there you go.
The game.
The game.
Yeah.
It's okay. Go listen to the Open. I screwed that up.
That is definitely a game, though, by the way. Historically, that would have been a Pac-12 network game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a 3:30
It
kick
should
against
be.
Idaho State. That's a Pac-12 network game.
Coming up, we got the NFL kicking off tonight. But up next, is there a number that satisfies you? Next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, we know it's NFL kickoff day, so we will get to the NFL at the top of the hour. We'll dive a little more heavy into the college football local games this weekend tomorrow.
Yeah.
We do have a Washington State thing to get to at some point today. Mike Leech is being inducted into their Hall of Fame.
Rightfully so, R.I.P.
And Jake Dickert, their current coach, and many others have sounded off saying he needs a statue at Washington State. And so I'm going to ask you a simple question. When you think of Mike Leech, do you think of Washington State or Texas Tech? He was at Tech a little longer, but it ended with a kid in a closet. And some of his more memorable moments with press conference mascot talk, a fake mustache with Minshew, game day and Pullman.
Yeah.
I think of Leach with Washington State, and that's probably being a little Pac-12 bias for sure.
Yeah, we were a little closer to it.
We were closer to it
but
in our bubble.
At Texas Tech, it's easy to get lost in the wash between A&M and Texas.
He had some seasons, but he also had some seasons in Pullman. So I think that's an interesting thing to think about. And is he the greatest Washington State coach ever? Because we looked it up. There's not a lot of amazing records from coaches.
No.
Yeah, but Price took him to Rose Bowl.
They didn't win.
Well, I know.
Win.
Okay.
Did Leach win?
There was still the second
Alamo
on the
Bowl.
clock.
Oh,
damn
okay.
it.
They went to the Alamo.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Just checking on that.
Everybody,
I want to make sure I didn't miss
Alamo.
Mike Leach's Rose Bowl wins. I want to make sure I didn't
There's a
forget
monument for Mike Leach. It's in San Antonio. It's the Alamo.
Remember the Alamo.
There's no forgotten roses anywhere you could.
Well, the statue for Leach needs to be him walking on the sidewalk somewhere because he used to walk from his house to work.
Oh, that's the statue?
No, I think you got to go out front of the stadium. I think you
do.
got to go stadium statue.
I'll give you a
if
hot
you
take.
go stadium statue.
Nondescript Gardner Minshew putting mustache on Mike Leach.
I'm okay with that statue.
That would be fantastic.
That would be great.
Or you could do a giant
As long as
statue.
Minshew's in jorts.
Yeah.
Him in jorts, yeah. Do a giant statue of a Pac-12 mascot fight.
There
and
you go.
Credited to Mike Leach.
And he's like the ref.
There's a Sun Devil stabbing a duck. There's a cougar attacking a husky.
There's
like
a beaver off the top
Yeah,
rope.
off the top rope, dropping the tail down on somebody. That would be a cool Mike Leach statue.
We'll get to some Mike Leach talk more later on. I heard this from our buddy Bill Oram, and it got my brain working a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What is the margin of victory has to be this weekend for Oregon to beat Boise State that makes Duck fans go, okay, a little shaky week one start. We're back, baby. What is that margin of victory? He threw out a score, and I said, I think people would be happy with a win no matter what because you've never beaten Boise State. But, he threw out a 35-21 on his podcast, and I went, I could see some people having problems with that score.
Well, here's the hard thing with scores, I would say, is that the score sometimes doesn't always indicate the course of the game, right? So if it's, let's say 35-21 is the final, is it a 3-touchdown game throughout, and then Boise State tacks one on with 2 minutes to go when your backups are in, and then it's 35-21, right? There's a different feeling there.
Good teams win, great teams win.
They definitely cover. And that would be my initial answer if you ask me for a target score. I think covering the spread is a target score. Boise State is a good team. They also gave up nearly 50 points to Georgia Southern, and there is a massive there should be a massive talent gap here. And so if you truly are the team that many people thought you were coming into the year, one hiccup is fine. It's excusable. Teams are going to have bad, clunky games. Alabama damn near lost to South Florida in week 3 last year, and they ended up beating Georgia and going to the playoff.
Especially it being game one.
Game one, it's okay. I'm, as panicked as I am, nobody's throwing the entire season out for one bad game. This is, though, when you see the growth. This is when you see a lot of the stuff corrected. That's an old cliche in college football that from week 1 to week 2, you see the biggest growth in your team. You fix a lot of the stupid mental mistakes, a lot of the procedural penalties. That stuff should all be cleaned up, and you should be able to run the football. If Boise State's going to give up 50, basically, to Georgia Southern, your offense should be able to hum against them the entire game. And if that's the case, I love the matchup for Oregon because I think the under-talked-about thing for the last week or 4 days on Oregon is how good their defense is and how good their defense looked. And I truly think Oregon has an elite defense this year. So I don't see Genty running for 300 yards. Some people are predicting this to be a shootout and take the over. I don't see that at all. And so if that's the case, you win by 21, I'm perfectly happy with that.
I mean, I look at Boise, and you said something interesting there that may prove to be right. But I look at Boise, and I kind of think, this sounds ridiculous given they just struggled against Idaho. It feels like the right opponent at the right time. They're very reliant on the run game.
Yeah.
They cannot pass the way that they've passed in Boise State history. And so it's like, hey, stop this guy. win football game.
Yeah, line up and try and run it on this front
number
seven.
2.
That's as simple as it is. Ashton Jainty had 6 touchdowns last week, and he was an absolute animal against Georgia Southern. But you said something that's interesting to me, too. Margin of victory. I hear what you're saying of, like, were you up 21 most of the way? They scored a garbage-ass touchdown. Sure, that's definitely within the cards. I think there's an opportunity, if they are the team that many thought they are, to say, pitiful performance. We saw Dan Lanning basically saying, I'm disappointed in you guys.
Yeah.
That was the message in the locker room. And so it's like, if they're as talented as many thought they are coming into the year, if their opponent this week really just is relying on one thing to succeed, take the one thing away, you should be able to have no offensive problems whatsoever.
Yeah, go dominate.
But you said Boise's good. I don't know. That was one of the underlying shocking things to me, because they're not a top-ranked team. They don't get conversation the way some of these other teams do.
Mm-hmm.
They damn near lost to Georgia Southern, and I thought they were going to blow them out, and they struggled. And so I don't know how good Boise really is, because they came in, albeit the Mountain West, with similar type hype of, like, they're the favorites to make the playoffs.
To be a group of 5 choice.
Yeah.
And I will say the same thing about Boise that I said about Oregon. It's one game is so hard to react to.
I agree with you.
How much of it for them is like, we're playing Georgia Southern.
Sure.
Next week, we're going on the road to Autzen.
They gave up 45 points and an S-ton of yards.
I'm not defending that at all.
That was horrific.
One game is so hard to read into, and maybe they come out and play elite defense this week. I think if you're Oregon, you're licking your chops, though, and saying we can get after these guys a little bit, although would have said the same thing about Idaho. To me, just like with Oregon, one bad game is excusable. It's understandable to have a clunker in an opener, or to not play up to your standard, or to look ahead, or to hide things in your playbook. All those excuses are available.
Sure.
Week 2, the excuses are gone. You're not hiding anything. You're not holding anything back. You should clean up your mistakes. Like, all of that stuff should be cleaned up for either side of this argument. The Boise State argument is just basically preseason. Many people looked at them as the group of 5 representative to make the playoff, and that's why people think they're good this year. And Jainty's a stud.
So cover the spread?
Cover the spreads.
Is that where we're at on all this stuff, really? Because every fan wants their team to win 63 to 17 or whatever.
Yeah, 50-point win would be nice, but 42-21's the final. I'm perfectly
42-21, you're okay.
Perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
35-17, 49-24, whatever math
I'm trying
equation.
to think of, like, if it's within 20, is that good enough? And that very well could be what it is, but it just got me thinking a little bit. Is there a margin of victory for Duck fan to make them forget about Idaho? Like, say, it happened.
Yeah.
But this is what we did this weekend. This is more like what we thought we'd look like.
To me, it's more about leaving no doubt throughout the course of the game, more so than the final score.
Gotcha.
Like, coming out, it's 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. You're running the ball. You're shutting them down. It's like, okay, you might end up winning by 30. You might end up winning by 17 based on how the second half goes. But this, like, setting the tone early, running the football, and having an efficient offense, to me, tells me more necessarily than the final score.
If that were to happen, though, and then Boise only loses by 17, Lanning's pissed. It's kind of falling right into a sweet
more
spot.
More red meat,
of,
man.
Exactly.
More red meat.
More red meat.
Keep throwing that red meat out there.
NFL kicks off tonight with Mahomes and Lamar. Let's kick off the second hour talking the NFL back in our lives. Hour 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and the Fan.
Ahoy there.
To Portland, 1080, The Fan.
I'll just roll it out into the river.
Not the river.
An Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Stanford's. The classic American steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tanasbourne, or online at stanfords.com. First on The Fan, the 2024 NFL regular season kicking off tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs raising another Super Bowl banner. Then it'll be off to try to three-peat. They would be the first team in the Super Bowl era to do so. They get the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC Championship game rematch. 5:20 kick on KGW Channel 8. Chiefs 3-point favorites. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert said his foot is 100% after dealing with plantar fasciitis during the preseason. They open Sunday against the Raiders. And in Cincinnati, wide receiver Jamar Chase was back at practice despite not getting a new contract extension that had him holding in. There is speculation he will play Sunday in their opener against the Patriots. More sports scores and stories, 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has new shirts from the fan shows and hosts you love. Get fan.com. This is Dirt and Sprague.
Ours is a new love, but it burns very brightly, and it gets hot and sweaty and stanky. There's some stank on that love.
With Andy Dirt Johnson.
You think you're going to find somebody that's going to be like psyched to go to Applebee's with you every Friday night and hear the same football stories about how you rocked in high school? I did rock in high school football. You want to check tape?
And Brendan Sprague.
You know about the cup sizes and all? They have different cups.
Yeah, I know about the cup.
You got the A, the C, the D. That's the biggest.
I know the D is the biggest. I based my whole life on knowing that the D is the biggest.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and of course, YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning to the
Big
world.
Wood's still in here?
The Big Wood is still in here.
Still got our Big Wood. It's still
we still
here.
got it.
We'll see if anybody's laying we got our Big PP today. Are we laying Big Wood today? We'll find out.
Yeah, the Big Wood was the only game that didn't cash for me.
Well, they were all technically Big Woods, but different. Mine was the biggest wood.
Yes.
Don't pull that. Or you could pull that. But they were all Big Woods, technically.
Yeah, a lot of big PPs last week.
Yeah.
We took all the big PPs, but only 2 big PPs ended up being big.
So far, the state of Washington.
Yeah.
Bigger.
2-0?
Bigger. We're 0-2.
We are the little brother.
They're 2-0. We're the little brother state right now. We got to correct that this weekend.
We got to stop being the little PPs. We got
right.
the big PP this Thursday morning.
That's the goal in week 2.
We will get to that. If you're new to the show and you're hearing this, it's probably sounds a little odd what we're talking about. We make... Traditionally, we make Pac-12 picks, but the Pac-12 is no longer the Pac-12 as we knew it.
No.
But it's 2 teams. They're local. And now we got 2 other local teams in the Big Ten, so it's a mixture of the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and so we just call it the Big Pac Picks, and the Big PP.
It's got to have an acronym. Everything needs an acronym. It's just easier to say, you know.
Why the sales staff hasn't sold that yet, I don't know.
I've not figured that out
Big PP
yet.
is just easy. Hey,
easy branding.
You want to do something on the radio?
Bring Dr. Snip back.
Yes.
What are they doing?
Hey.
Yeah, Dr. Scooter, where are you at? Here's Dr. Scooter here for your big PP picks.
Are you having bladder issues? Brought to you by the Big PP.
By catheters.
The NFL is back, gentlemen. We made it.
We did it. God, I can't wait for tonight.
The better football is back in our lives. No longer have to watch all these dumb irrelevant college games.
How dare you?
I mean, look, you know it's true. You love your team, but we know it's true.
The matchups are better.
Every week we get great matchups, and even the bad matchups end up becoming somewhat interesting because Scott Hansen for 7 hours of commercial-free football.
When that's back on my TV Sunday, I might cry. I might when I see Scott Hansen, when that countdown clock is coming down and it's 15, 14, 13, I'm going to be sitting in my living room just bawling like a baby.
I have it on for the final 5 minutes.
I do too.
I have a 5-minute countdown clock.
I'm going to go controversial. I might turn that thing on at like 8:30 in the morning and just have the music playing in the background I just might have it on the second I wake up and I don't need any pregame shows. I don't care what any of these idiots have to say. I just want the music and give me the countdown clock. I remember one year The wife wanted to go do something on the Sunday morning kickoff. I'm like, all right, we got to be back. And I missed the first countdown clock of the year.
No, you did.
I was upset. We were in a fight for months, man. I'm like, I'm never going to forget this in the history of our marriage.
I don't know if I would have ever forgiven that.
You can't miss the first countdown clock of the year. Mightily important on that first Sunday.
I might have had to have gone to Camas this Sunday to pick up. My stepdad died, and so he had a car. And so I'm basically helping my cousin get rid of it. And so I said, I'll take it to my house. I said, but I will be at your house in Camas. I will be there at 7 a.m.
I am not
getting that car.
Second later than that.
And we're coming home because I ain't missing anything. I end up not having to go this weekend because the car won't start. But nonetheless, like,
the
whatever
point
I
remains.
Dude, I have a routine Sunday. I get up, do a little yoga, and then we go to the grocery store, get a couple things, get back, and it's only 7 a.m., and I'm just like, oh, I'm in heaven. Oh, countdown.
Locking in your parlays, one final scroll through before the games kick off. Ooh, that line's enticing.
It's disgusting how happy this sport makes
We might have to go the full boat restaurant French toast here on Sunday.
Oh.
Spike the whipped cream.
I'm not mad at I still haven't had my French toast. That was my hood to coast meal, and I still have not had French toast.
I think Sunday's the day then.
I think you've talked me into what my Sunday
You
thing
got to
is.
get the brioche bread at Trader Joe's.
You got a little powdered sugar? You a powdered sugar guy?
Yeah,
I got powdered sugar right on top.
I dumped the amaretto into the egg wash, the amaretto into the whipped cream, get the big mixer out, spike my whipped cream.
I hate to
fresh
disappoint.
Berries, toasted almonds.
Probably can't do the homemade whipped cream. Now, I'm more of a homemade whipped cream fan. The kids are just tyrants. They're just the worst.
They don't want to partake in
You
that.
got to put a couple of teaspoons of powdered sugar in that to give it a little sweetness.
I put more than you'd care to guess sweets in those whipped cream, and I'm like, Jesus, this is amazing.
This tastes fantastic.
And they're like, it's not a can, and I'm just like, oh, I hate you. My kids are so damn picky
What
now.
do they want? Cool Whip?
Yeah,
That's
probably.
just like every dinner
Probably.
or meal. There's something to complain.
You freeloaders. Why don't you pay your fair share around here, huh?
There's not enough salt. There's too much salt. It's spicy. There's pepper. There's no pepper. There's pepper. Shut up.
Never-ending complaints.
I ate tuna helper. You think I liked that?
Exactly.
No, but it was on the table. It was my dinner, damn it.
It's what you eat. You come home, what's on the
Papa
menu?
Swag's,
That's what you eat.
It was Papa Swag's bastardized beef stroganoff that drove me to figure out how
See?
to cook.
It makes you better in
If
many
they don't
ways.
like the salt, then hey, you cook your own dinner, whatever you want to make. You
That's
cook
what
it
my
on your
dad
own.
said. He's like, that's what I'm fixing. You want something else, make it yourself.
You
And
cook it.
Damn it, I found a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese when I was 10.
If you put a camera on my face at dinner almost every night, you will see me with like a half my life's awful look on my face eating my own food. Because I'm like, this
tastes great to me.
This is better than almost anything my mom ever made.
Yes.
And you guys are complaining because there's too many chives or the sour cream or... God, this sucks. What do I waste all this time for?
Never ends. You might as well just give them dino nuggies and move on.
About had it.
I'll make my own dinner,
Yeah.
and here you go. I'll throw something in the oven for you for 30 minutes, and that's what you're going to eat.
Delightful salmon steaks and grilled asparagus last night.
I wish they liked that. But
asparagus.
Oh, it's gross, man. Doesn't smell
Ooh,
good.
It's just too chewy.
It's slimy.
My pee stinks.
shut up. You shut up, you little dorks.
That is the wildest thing. That first pee after eating asparagus, it still hits me to this day.
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Look at me. I'm eating healthy.
Woo,
You
yeah.
smell that? That's health.
Smell that urine?
That's health.
That's good.
That's weakness leaving the body right now.
That's strong
The
pee
aroma
right
of
there.
nutrients, my
Exactly,
friend.
Yeah. NFL is back. As you can tell, we're excited. And we get Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Not the matchup I was rooting for. I wanted it to be Texans and Chiefs because the Stroud hype, year two. We've seen the Baltimore-Kansas City game, but it's here. I'm still going to be jacked once it kicks off. A quick note on this. So Kansas City is a 3-point favorite.
They are.
Lamar Jackson, in his career, 12-1-1 as an underdog in the regular season. And, you know, it's not that gambling needs to be the entire segment and conversation around this game. I got a stat about Patrick Mahomes I want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw that stat yesterday, and I laugh when I go, people actually still debate if he is like a great quarterback. And I'm like,
Your brains are broken.
I
man.
get that they're a good organization. They have good defense. I totally am acknowledging that. no great quarterback is great unless the team is good.
Yes.
12-1-1 as an underdog. Like, this dude just delivers time and time again when you think he's not going to. I don't know if they'll win tonight or even cover. It's just a little stat about Lamar that I just chuckle, and I'm like, I remember arguing with people about not paying Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. Oh, he only has this many playoff wins. Okay. Who wins Super Bowls? It's like one team winning Super Bowls right now.
There's one guy, I mean, we went through the numbers the other day, and we forgot a couple of quarterbacks in the mix, but there's not many active quarterbacks with a Super Bowl ring. Aaron Rodgers is on the brink of retiring, so you'll eliminate another one from that list unless you create one this year. The whole argument about quarterbacks is just funny to me. Like, the show before us was having this big debate about which quarterback has more pressure, and they were throwing different guys out, C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love or Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams or Jordan Love.
Both?
Everybody, like Lamar, all these guys have every year. The only guy you can argue in the NFL who doesn't have any pressure is Patrick Mahomes because he's done it all.
Absolutely.
And if he doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, nobody's going to be like, I don't know, man, what's wrong with Kansas City? Although during the regular season, off of a Super Bowl last year, what did we ask almost on a weekly basis? What the hell's up with Kansas City, man?
They had a bad offense.
Why doesn't Mahomes look good anymore? Is he broken? Is it too much Taylor Swift? Those were the narratives we had. But if he doesn't win, nobody will freak out this year. Everybody else has a ton of pressure on them. I just hate how you appreciate the greatness of guys like Brady and guys like Mahomes who clearly stand above and beyond everybody else in their eras in terms of accomplishments. I hate how it breaks our brain on every other quarterback. That's the most frustrating thing to me. Like, Lamar Jackson is a bona fide star in this league. He's a multi-MVP. His numbers last year were through the roof. He was an efficient thrower of the football, highest completion percentage he'd ever had in his career. I believe the most attempts he'd ever had in his career, the most yards he'd ever had in his career. Like, their passing game took it to another level. They made it all the way to an AFC championship game. They had some fluky fumbles and some bad luck, and Kansas City was a damn good team, and they fell short by a field goal.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know, man, this guy's not very good. It's like, well, it's not his fault a wide receiver fumbled into the end zone during that game. That wasn't Lamar's fault. So some of the narratives drive me nuts. I'm excited and jacked to watch him play and to see what Derrick Henry looks like in that offense. I'm fired up to watch these two teams who I think most people would agree probably coming into the year, based off last year, at least at the start of the season, the two best teams in the
cream
AFC.
of the crop.
Cream of the crop in the AFC.
Until we see what all these other teams,
Cincinnati, Houston, Buffalo, what everybody else looks like.
The thing about that game, so it's funny to go back and look at that box score. Lamar wasn't good. And my thing is, like, I think it's okay to say, like, oh, so-and-so, they just didn't play very well.
What a bad game.
Concluding that you can't win anything with that guy, that's where you lose me. Barkley had this comment. Charles Barkley was talking about this with Bill Simmons. And he's like, it's one thing to be critical or have an opinion. It's another to be completely unfair.
Yeah.
And some of our takes end up being way wrong or the opinion doesn't age well. I just always pride our show of like saying, oh, dude, what an idiotic move or take by us.
Whiffed on that one.
And like it's a dishonest conversation when talking about Lamar for some of like how good or great he is. No, he's really stinking good. He's a lot of fun to watch. He didn't have a good AFC title game. To your point, though, say Flowers doesn't fumble at the half-yard line into the end zone.
Maybe you win the game.
Maybe we feel different. Also, do we not remember, they ran it a total of 6 times.
Yeah, they couldn't run the football, and they didn't try to run the football.
Like DJ, we've talked about DJ's struggles. We know what DJ is in college. It also doesn't help his defensive line's trash, and they rushed for 20 yards against Boston College. Those are things that do matter in the grand scheme of conversation. And so it's just like with Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, these two franchises, Baltimore's been run one of the best organizations for, I mean, this goes back to the Brady Belichick start almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like since Ray Lewis, they had a couple down years and they tried it with Kyle Bowler and then they got Joe Flacco and it took back off. And so outside of a couple seasons, they've really been as consistent a franchise as you could ask for 20 plus years.
They have.
And Lamar has been outstanding for them. Mahomes last year, you bring up last season and how we kind of freaked out, and we definitely came into the show Mondays and Tuesdays or whatever and said, what's up, man? I don't know about this.
Their offense sucked at times during the year.
I would argue deservedly so.
Yeah.
And Kansas City Chief fan, I think if they were honest with themselves, would say, yeah, I was also doing that because the defense was clearly great, but the offense sucked. Here's an example. Mahomes last year threw 60 passes, 20 or more air yards in 2023. 60.
Down the field.
He completed 17 of them. That stat courtesy of True Media. Like, just that stat right there tells me did not have explosive, push it down the field plays happen very often for them. And a reminder of like, oh, yeah, their defense largely carried them all of last year.
Including in the playoffs.
And they won't have Hollywood Brown tonight, but they've got Hollywood Brown now on that receiving core. They went and got Worthy, who was the fastest guy, and everybody's hyped on what he's going to be at the deep ball. And Kelsey's going to come back. I think he's going to kind of load manage a little bit. So I think both teams, Lamar and what Baltimore are going to be after a 13-4 season and losing at home in the AFC title game. And then offensively, I still have some questions opposite Trent McDuffie defensively for Kansas City. They didn't establish a clear second cornerback. They lost L'Jarius Sneed. I talked about that while you were gone of just like, hey, is this a bigger deal than people are talking about because he's awesome?
Yeah, one of those under-the-radar moves that you don't get a lot of attention but ends up paying dividends.
But offensively, they were not good last year, and you can see it with that's just one stat. We all watched it, and now we wonder, did they correct all the problems they had last year offensively?
Well, your point on Snead, too, I would argue, and this is, I'm not trying to take anything away from Mahomes. Everybody knows he's the greatest in this generation and maybe the greatest we've ever seen. He was carried in the playoffs last year by his defense, and that's okay to say. Like, Brady had Super Bowls where he was carried by his defense, and he didn't do a lot in the postseason, but he got a ring, and that's the way that the game works. We give the credit to the quarterback. Their defense was outstanding against Baltimore, and let's also not overlook the fact that San Francisco had one of the better offensive units in the NFL. They forced the fumble on the opening drive. They got some lucky breaks, a block PAT, a drop punt, sure, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Their defense largely carried them in that game. Outside of an opening drive for the 49ers and a trick play, they couldn't really move the ball at all, and then Kansas City wakes up and they get going late in the game courtesy of a couple of turnovers. So their defense carried them at times last year. We'll see if that can be the same case this year. I think what's exciting is there are going to be some subtractions, obviously, and we'll see how Kansas City's defense is affected by that. But you mentioned some of the new additions. Like I brought up Derrick Henry in Baltimore. What does that do for the run game? What are they like in the fourth quarter when he's coming downhill and you got to tackle that guy and they're trying to milk the clock with a 4-point lead, and good luck stopping that on 2nd and 3 or 3rd and 4. And then on the other side, Kansas City has desperately missed a deep threat. And do they have that this year? It's one thing to have training camp highlights. Xavier Worthy had a lot of them in August. But now the game start, and are you truly the game breaker that they're looking for and that they've been missing since Tyreek Hill has been gone? That's the scariest notion of all of this, though, if you see that tonight. Their defense might not be as good as it was last year, should still be very good. They have the best quarterback in the entire league. They have arguably the best head coach in the entire league. Really, the only thing they've been missing is that down-the-field threat in the last couple of years.
Since Hill left,
and they still have won 2 Super Bowls without that down-the-field threat. And if you add that threat back into this offense, that's the fear factor that exists for me tonight, but it's why I'm so excited to watch the game.
I got some other NFL nuggets I want to get to. I also want to ask this question going into the break that we can talk about. Is it good for the NFL to have a three-peat? Or is this... It's good in basketball, the people, to have these dynasty runs. Is it good in football? Next on The Fan.
Oregon.
Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance. Do your dance at the Space Jam. All right.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
You can always reach the show or the radio station at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com for more details. Good morning. It is your morning coffee roasters, your coffee boys, Dirt and Sprague here.
Ready to roast you. How about this at the Vancouver Ford text line?
Sure.
Morning, gentlemen. We're rolling into today on a pretty good high.
Oh, yeah.
Went to A last night to make some division winner parlay picks.
Hell yeah, brother.
Go.
Afterwards, sat down on a machine with the wife, put $40 in, hit a bonus for $10K on a $1.60 bet. Thank goodness for football season.
Well done.
How about that? Wow. How about that start to your football season right there?
God, I'd cry if I won $10K.
That's a good little feeling right there on a Wednesday night.
Fuck that for a bankroll for the season.
How do you get out of paying taxes on that? You just keep it in your pocket the whole time?
Well, you don't tell radio stations that broadcast. That would be the
No,
first
don't read that.
I don't know. We don't know his
We don't have a
identity.
name.
I don't have a name. I don't know what it is.
How are you buying groceries? Go to the vault. The money's in the vault.
The money's in there.
Jeez.
Can I take that to the grocery store? My chips. Can I take? Here's $100 chip from A&A.
I don't know if
does that work?
that level, the casino has to report something to the IRS.
I would imagine with 10K they would have to say something.
I think 10K. I think it's like over $600 or something.
Usually, I know the lottery, like if you win over $650,
I think that's
you
what
gotta
it is.
fill some extra stuff
I get that on my every Sunday. I do the $1 parlay on every game just because it's fun. You never win it, but it's just fun to think about. And when you lock in the bet, you get the reminder of like, if you win this bet, it will be blah blah blah. But you're like, don't worry, it's not going to hit. But I'm just here for entertainment. All right.
Sam doesn't need that G.
No,
let me have that G.
They're doing just fine.
Is a three-peat good for the NFL? The NBA long has these conversations when you get dynasty runs, and that's basically all basketball's given us.
Yeah.
Even though we're in a stretch of not having repeat champions, people make arguments. They point to ratings and viewership and say it's a good thing for the NBA to have dominance. The Celtics, the Bulls, the Heat, or the Warriors, whoever it is at any one point of the NBA, it's always been made. It's good for the NBA. We haven't had a three-peat since the 60s Packers. This does not happen.
It's been that long.
Not in the Super Bowl era.
Not in the Super Bowl era.
Cowboys were 3 out of 4, right?
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4.
Yep.
Did the Patriots do 3 out of 4?
The Patriots did
3 out of 4,
yeah, because I think they won it, they missed, and then they repeated.
And the Steelers went back-to-back twice in the 70s. I can't remember if it was in
But they had a
5
split
or
up in
6.
between
But
those.
then, not 3 in a row.
So we haven't had a three-peat since the 60s Packers. Many wouldn't even count that.
Not counting it.
No offense.
That was before the merger.
It's a world championship or a
it's
football
NFL
title.
championship.
I got a
What are we
rule.
doing here?
If Swag was only 14 years old
Doesn't
when it
count.
happened, it does not count.
Doesn't count.
I
If he was in middle
alive.
school, it doesn't count.
Yeah, sure you weren't. Is it good for the NFL to have a three-peat? This is the juggernaut of our country. This is the lifeblood sports-wise of our nation.
It is.
Everybody gets like 10 to 20 million viewers per game. Is a three-peat good for the NFL, or does it not matter at all?
Here's the hard part is I think there's a truth to both answers, right? Like the NFL is immune to literally anything. You could give us who are the two most irrelevant teams in the NFL?
Ooh.
Oh, I mean.
The Cardinals.
Cardinals versus Jags in the Super Bowl? How about that matchup? And you're getting 150, like how like the numbers are through the roof. It's the Super Bowl.
It'll be down though from previous years,
Just maybe slightly, but you're still setting all sorts of records, and the playoff ratings would be through the roof. And you're not going to hit Mahomes' numbers, but nobody's going to have a question of why are only 9 million people watching your championship? Like the NBA and baseball need this. You need markets, stars. You need something to draw the fan in. You need an extra selling point. And the Arizona Diamondbacks and Texas Rangers were not that last year in the World Series. Football's not that way. But what I would add to it is if Mahomes does win this year and they pull off the three-peat, the fodder for media narratives and the conversations that will exist will absolutely benefit the NFL because it'll be, if he wins this year, I think he's people are, it's like,
you're getting into goat
You're the
stuff.
GOAT.
Yeah,
If that's
you've done
number
something
4,
nobody's done.
You did 3 in a row. We've never seen that before. Brady
Bart
didn't even
Starr.
do that. Like that doesn't count.
We're pushing 60 years of Super Bowl history.
And never seen
and
that.
the greatest teams, the 70s Steelers, the 80s 49ers, the 90s Cowboys, the Patriots in the 21st century. None of them did this. So the pursuit of it, I think, is great.
Yep.
But to Dirt's point, whether or not they pull it off or not, I don't think matters in the end.
They're an interesting franchise in the sense of, like, on this show, Dirt has openly talked about how he hates them already because they win. They cannot be stopped, it feels like. They've beaten my team twice in Super Bowls.
Twice.
And I still turn them on, and I don't feel...
You had the lead in both second halves, too.
I don't feel the animosity the way you think I would. And maybe
there's a joy, and this is from the personalities. Kelsey, Mahomes, Andy Reid. There is a joy for them to go out and play, and they literally do playground, make stuff up, and they put it in a game.
I'm a big...
As opposed to the business drill down Bill Belichick.
No days off.
No days off. We're on Cincinnati.
I would acknowledge that's definitely a part of it. I'm a big team guy. The only reason I do Hood to Coast is because I love team. I don't get a lot of opportunities to do team. I think team is the greatest thing this country can provide is when you can be a part of a team. There's not a better feeling in the world than you're truly locked in and supporting everybody on it and pushing yourself.
For a common goal.
And I think they exemplify that quality that I love, even though they're in my team's way of winning and everybody else's team's way of winning. The weird thing about them is they also have things that you can totally not like about them, but that they're a weird hate-love thing, right? Like, you could just simply, as of the last controversy, quote-unquote, you could just hate him because Patrick Mahomes' wife is MAGA. You could hate him because Travis Kelce's girlfriend steals the spotlight from the entire league at every single thing she does. You can love Andy Reid because he's the fat, jolly guy. He also has questionable children in his life that do awful things. You can love Chris Jones and Mahomes and the way he talks. And then you can say, oh, they got a lot of problematic dudes off the field that are doing some pretty awful things.
Yeah.
They're such a weird franchise, and they have the love and the hate things that you could point to, and none of it matters because they keep winning. It just never matters.
It's an absolute steamroller, man. And it's remarkable to see how long they built it and how long it's maintained. And you don't imagine it's going to go anywhere. Whether Kelsey retires, like as long as Mahomes is there, and Andy Reid definitely is there, like they're going to be in the mix every single season. I just get to hate your point of I get so tired of the narratives around really good teams and really good players in this league. And we judge them critically because they can't beat maybe the best dynasty we've seen or trending towards one of the best dynasties we've ever seen in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I largely hate them and I want to see somebody else win. Like I want Lamar to get one, man. I want Josh Allen to get a ring. Joe Burrow's so fun. His blonde hair, dude. Marshall Mathers. I want my boy Herbert to get a ring. I want Brock.
That's not going to happen here. Burrow might be on the short end of the stick.
Of course they might be.
Herbert,
I'm just saying this is why I hate them. I hate that them winning locks us into this weird mind warp of judging everybody against that standard when that standard stands out above everybody else.
Sure.
And if Mahomes wasn't in the NFL, it's funny to think how different the narrative was if he just decided to play baseball instead of football. Is Josh Allen that guy now? Is Burrow that guy? Was it Lamar? Does he have a couple of rings?
That's a fun game.
Does Jimmy Garoppolo have a Super Bowl? Does Brock Purdy have a Super Bowl? I know there's always been that guy.
Dan Marino was that guy.
I totally get it.
John Elway was for years.
The dynasty stuff, I get tired of it in the NFL. In the NBA, I'm a fringe fan. I love my team, well, not right now, but largely, I'm a fringe fan of the rest of the league. I need that, like, LeBron versus Steph, round 3. Like, that's exciting for me. Baseball's kind of the same way when my team's not involved. Football, I love it no matter who the hell's playing, and you watch every single game.
Yes.
And I don't want to see the opening game again next year be in Kansas City. Can we play it somewhere else, for the love of God?
Well, I mean, you win it, you earn it.
Wait till that Hallmark movie comes out, too. They're going to show Taylor Swift all over TV tonight.
Well, what's funny is...
Look at that. You think she called that play, Chris? Huh? You think she drew that one up in the sand? Ha-ha! Look at that slant.
Didn't we learn to just bet the over of how many props they say they show her on TV?
How many times they're going to show her? It's nauseating.
We have to get going here, but I just find them interesting in the sense of, will they do something we haven't seen ever in any of our lives? And I find it funny that you're openly talking about how annoying it is because they cannot be stopped.
Last year, their offense was so bad in the regular season, and they still won the Super Bowl.
Almost.
How are they getting away with this?
I remember hearing, I want to say it was NFL Live because I loved that show, and there was something to the effect of historically what their offense was. There was no model of that kind of offense winning a Super Bowl almost ever, and they did it. And so, like, their offense should be better. And as annoyed as you are by it, and as happy as Chiefs fans are, I find it interesting you're also saying them winning is better. That them winning is
Well, I
better
mean-
for the NFL. I don't think the NFL can really
Not
ever
for
be
my
knocked.
fandom, but for the overall
For the league.
NFL, like yeah,
That's what I'm
it's-
talking
You get
about.
3 in a row, like that's something we've never seen before. Mahomes is the GOAT probably at that point. I don't care about what happened in the first time he played Brady without an offensive line.
I don't know how we're gauging GOATs anymore in sports.
That dude would have 4 and 3 in a row. Like that is good for the league.
he
Good for
wins
my fandom?
4.
No. Somebody's saying Dirt's oozing salt right now. I am, dude. I hate that. I hate it. I can't stand it. I want somebody to beat him, damn it.
Salty.
I am absolutely salty, man.
But we've seen how hard it is to achieve history. The Patriots were trying to get the Dolphins' perfect record, and David Tyree happens.
Yeah.
So,
But then they came back and they won like 3 more.
I know.
That's the thing about it is if they win, right? If they three-peat, everybody's going to say they're going to four-peat. And nobody would bat an eye at that pick. But if they three-peat, what did you say? He'd have 4 and 5 seasons? Or 4 and 6?
4 and 6.
I think this is your 6.
I think it'd be 4 and 6.
4
Terry
and
Bradshaw
6.
is, I think, the only guy that can come close to that.
I don't know if he would tie Brady with 7, but you certainly wouldn't pick against it at that point.
No. He's only, how old is Mahomes? 29?
28.
28,
He's
29
not
years old?
30 yet.
He's not going anywhere for a decade,
Now,
man.
the only thing I wonder with them
28
too,
years old. He turns 29 in 2 weeks. Or a week.
He is the amazing thing of all of, like the most amazing part. Chris Jones is obviously awesome. Reed, Kelsey. Like, I do wonder, does it start to slip? If they don't do it this year, then that's a different conversation. But if they were to win it, what is the point you'd say, I don't know anymore? Because he's awesome. He's going to remain awesome. But like when Kelsey retires, that's going to matter, man. Like that guy wasn't as good and yet almost had 1,000 receiving yards last year and then was a monster in the AFC title game and Super Bowl.
He was.
We thought maybe Tyreek Hill leaving would do it. It didn't matter. They won anyway. So is it Chris Jones?
See, to
Is
me,
it
there's
Kelsey?
nothing. I don't think there's anything.
See, it has to start mattering with some of those guys. It
That's
can't
what I would have
just
argued
be-
last year. That's what I would have
But they
argued.
at least still had Kelsey. They had Chris Jones. Like, that made sense to me.
I'll go find the next one, man. You can't kill them. They're a damn cockroach.
That's a good poll question. Can you kill the Kansas City Chiefs, or are they a cockroach?
The answer is no, unfortunately.
Well, they kick off the season. We'll have a little bit more NFL things to get to. I had some other notes I didn't get to talk about in that segment. They kick off the year against Baltimore tonight. Obviously, we're really excited about it. Should Mike Leach have a statue? We'll get to some of that coming up. It is a busy program. We'll get to it more next. But first, Swag with the Sports Update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. Indeed, the NFL regular season kicks off tonight in Kansas City. Chiefs start their march to a three-peat, trying to be the first team in the Super Bowl era to pull it off. They get the Ravens in an AFC title game rematch. 5:20 kick on KGW 8. Chiefs are 3-point favorites. Without a contract extension, Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase suited up at practice Wednesday in Cincinnati, participating in some drills, leading to speculation he could play in Sunday's opener against the Patriots. In LA, Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert says the plantar fasciitis he dealt with in the preseason is gone. His foot is 100% for their season opener against the Raiders. American Jessica Pegula taking down top-seeded Iga Swiatek to reach her first Grand Slam semifinal, a straight-set win in the U.S. Open quarters. She'll face unseeded Carolina Muchova in the second semifinal tonight. First up, it's fellow American Emma Navarro taking on the second seed Arina Sabalenka, Belarus. Coverage at 4 this afternoon on ESPN. More sports scores and stories, 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite
Terms and conditions, rating factors, and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, I got the grid all ready to go on my show sheet for our NFL picks at the top of the hour. Will we flip it? Will we stick it? We'll find out throughout the course of the year.
Flip it or stick it. I love it. The midway point of sports years.
Our big PP picks coming up at 8:15, so stay tuned for that. P1 Roger has chimed in, saying, thanks, guys. No point in watching the NFL now because the Swifties and Kermit will kill it again. Salty Niner fan, love the show. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. No point. Just,
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
We'll see you next year, guys. We'll see you next year.
It's becoming increasingly hard for me, too. Like, I'm watching the Super Bowl with my wife. I got Niner gear on. I am, like, anxiously walking around, nerves. I want them to win. Also, like week 7, 8, 9, Lions are winning, and I'm like, yeah! I'm like becoming. I'm Niner fan, but like I love a lot of storylines of the NFL.
Dude, that was why last year the opening game of the season was so fun because the Lions were that big hype team. They had not made the playoffs, but in their minds, kind of made the playoffs by knocking the Packers out of the playoffs the year before.
Here. That's why I want the Houston Texans tonight over the Ravens.
I know. It would have been either way. It'll be a great game. But when the Lions went into Kansas City and won, it was like, dude, you could feel the emotion. That was such a big deal for them to be in the opening game of the season, to win, to beat the defending champs, and so you can get some great storylines. Let me ask you this. So we were talking about Mahomes. I want to get to Mike Leach here in a moment. NFL picks top of the hour. If you were to identify as of September 5th at 7:40 in the morning, the biggest threat in the AFC to keep Kansas City from doing the thing that I don't want to see them do, which is win another championship, Is Baltimore our primary candidate right now, or are we that confident in somebody else?
Well, I like a few teams' chances to do it. My you could call it lukewarm take. Maybe it wasn't as spicy, but my take was Kansas City doesn't make the conference championship game this year.
It'd be incredible.
And that may not sound like a hot take. He's been in that game every year since he's been a starter. So I think that's a reasonable take. You can make arguments for multiple teams. I think the best odds, I don't know why it wouldn't be Baltimore. I think going in, until we see what Buffalo is, post Stephon Diggs, post a lot of those guys defensively they replaced.
Where are we at on a healthy Joe Burrow who now has, after yesterday's practice, Jamar Chase back in uniform?
That's certainly a huge boost for them. Joe Burrow being healthy is also something like I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. There's maybe lingering things. That injury is not an easy thing to come back from. Houston's getting a lot of love. Harbaugh at the Chargers, I don't think they can contend this year, but Harbaugh turned the Niners around quicker than people thought they would. There's interesting
the Colts
teams.
Stay healthy.
The Colts, well, the Jags going to choke down the end of the season the way they did last year.
Tua got his money.
Is Miami going to be a sleeper? You can make arguments for a lot of teams.
The AFC's deeper than the NFC. There's more good teams in the AFC.
It's not a better quarterback play, too.
Yeah. But it's Baltimore.
Baltimore's still the team?
It has to be Baltimore.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I'm really excited to see how they look tonight. I think that is why largely we all would have loved to see Houston, kind of an upstart last year, young quarterback, give C.J. Stroud that spotlight, save this Kansas City-Baltimore game for like a Week 14 Monday night game where they're both 11-2 or whatever the case, and number one seed in the AFC is on the line.
See, I was hoping
the
Sunday night game would be Baltimore and the Chargers and the Harbaugh Bowl to welcome Jim Harbaugh back.
Now is that a Christmas game? The Harbaugh Bowl?
It might be. The Harbaugh Bowl might
I know
be
it's on TV.
Game.
It's one of the primetime games this
Ravens
year,
and Niners play, Chargers, excuse me. Yeah. It's a Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was a holiday game.
I think it's the third game of the Thanksgiving slate.
Harbaugh Bowl for dessert?
I believe. Hold on, let me check. It's 11:25 at 5:15. I think that's
cream
Thanksgiving.
And the Harbaughs in a bowl. Let's go, man. I'm eating that all day.
Going.
Not a Thanksgiving game. I'm an idiot. It is the Monday night of Thanksgiving week. Going into
Thanksgiving.
So Thanksgiving's that Thursday. It's Monday the 25th. So I just saw the 25th. That has to be Thanksgiving. But no, it's just a Monday night game in late November.
Well, how often do Mondays just seem boring to you? Now you go home on a Monday and you got a Harbaugh Bowl.
You got a Harbaugh going on, man. That's going to be great. I actually think they kind of nailed their prime opening slate this week. Like tonight's game, we can disagree on who should have been awesome game, AFC title rematch. Tomorrow night is Packers and Eagles.
That's going to be wild.
Do they ever? I mean, I'm asking seriously.
I mean, there's times
they miss?
when the Giants and Cowboys are on Sunday Night Football, they will whiff because nobody wants to see that, but it'll bring home a great number anyways. Rams and Lions Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that's
awesome game. And then you get the Aaron Rodgers going back home to the Bay Area. Will he pop his Achilles 4 plays in again? Is he high on ayahuasca? That dude, great opening slate of primetime games. So I can't wait. I'm very excited to see Baltimore. I'm trying to talk myself out of gambling on the Ravens tonight.
I think I'm staying away from this game.
You gave me the number, though, of Lamar as an underdog.
12-1-1 as an underdog in the
regular
regular season.
Sure as hell going to be rooting
Super
for
Bowl
him.
champions 0-3 against the spread the last 3 seasons.
It's also a round number, too. It's right at 3. There's no half here.
I know. Give me 2.5, and I'm all over it.
Wait, 3.5 or
3.5. Sorry, 3.5, and I'm all over it. So I can't wait for tonight. Let's take a quick break in the NFL combos. We will get back to it at the top of the hour when we make our picks. Does Mike Leach deserve a statue in Pullman? And what school do you think of when his name comes up? We'll give you the results so far on the poll question, talk a little bit about a special weekend in Pullman. That's next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
Anybody really knows me is that I'd trade a third of whatever percent you want to call of what the Cowboys are supposed to be worth to get us to get one of those Super Bowls.
There's Jera on with Stephen A. Smith on his podcast. He'll do anything for a Super Bowl, Dirt. You haven't heard?
Anything other than sign his players in a timely manner to save his franchise money against the salary cap. Instead, we hold out and wait, just like they're doing with Dak Prescott. And you're going to cost yourself an extra, $50 million at the end of the day? Well played, Jerry.
Also go into a lame duck season with your coach and talk about how you care more about headlines.
Anything other than that, though, they would do to win the game.
Who's stinking it up? Jarrett Jones, brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
How's your t-shirt game set up for some?
Go! Where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
Hey, Crunch Time, brought to you as always by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 a month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, or online at crunch.com. Our NFL picks coming up at the top of the hour for the season. We'll laugh at each other throughout the course of the year about how stupid we are, and we will make our big PP picks coming up at 8:15. Big game going on this weekend. It's not a very good weekend of college football. Michigan, Texas, good game. Like Nebraska, Colorado might be the second best game, but I don't even know how good of a game that is.
Tennessee, NC State?
Tennessee, NC State's pretty good.
We'll see.
Pretty good little game, but
blowout.
NC State almost lost to Western Carolina in their first game, and Tennessee played Chattanooga, so we'll see how that one goes. An under-the-radar game for me, and we will pick it actually coming up here in a few moments, is Washington State hosting Texas Tech, a chance against a Power 4 opponent for the Cougs. It is a primetime game, or not, primetime, but nationally televised game on Fox, 7 o'clock kick. So all these teams are playing kind of late night games.
Oh,
you have to
local
rotate.
teams, yeah.
What time's a Husky game this weekend? Does anybody know? I mean, nobody
They play Eastern Michigan, so I kind of didn't care to check.
I mean, I didn't care to check either.
They should win that game.
But I know Oregon's at 7. You guys are Oregon State's at 7:30, and the Washington State game's at 7 on Fox. And they're putting Mike Leach into the Washington State Hall of Fame, and they're honoring Mike Leach, the Pirate, this weekend. We were joking earlier about what the statue should be of Leach if they put one up. Somebody said it should be a statue of a fat little girlfriend sitting under a, what does he say, a lemonade tree? Is that what the drop is in that open?
Oh, yeah.
Just a random girl under a tree? Like, what is that statue of? You wouldn't get it.
Do you put a fat little girl under a lemonade tree and a football player just looking at her lovingly?
I think so. I think that's a pretty good Mike Lee statue. But it is a good reminder. We had a text that came in just about what he meant for Washington State and what he did for that university. He said, as a Coug alum, yes, Leach deserves a statue. It's not just about the wins. He transformed the program, brought it to national recognition and respect from a time where we were a laughingstock. Now, we put up a poll question yesterday. Who do you think of first with Mike Leach, Texas Tech or Washington State? I'll give you the answers, but the results, but where's your answer?
Mine is Washington State.
Wazoo.
There's a lot of interesting things you can find on Cougar Twitter and Mike Leach stuff if you search it out. And one point is, he just seemed a little happier at Washington State. Texas Tech, I think he's younger. He's more in the, I'm going to win the Big 12, and couldn't quite get through. Came close a couple times with some of those teams. But it ended with Craig James's kid in a closet.
Yeah.
And, it just wasn't a really good ending for him. And Washington State gave him the lifeline. And my memory, even though it was a weird start at Washington State, he was good. And then it was disappointing, and then it was and then it became good and consistent, and he built it up. I just have memories of a happy Mike Leach, more so an angry, super hyper-competitive Mike Leach that couldn't quite break through in a really tough conference. And so I go Washington State. And also we just got to talk about and see it week to week during college football.
Yeah, we had an up-close look at it.
We got to interview him a few times. He was
did.
always delightful to talk to. He's got memorable press conferences with mascot fights.
Yeah.
I go Washington State, even though it was 2 years less than he was at Tech.
And the overall record better at Tech, too. But I'd have to go look. I don't know what shape the Texas Tech program was in when he took over. His first year there was in 2000. He was there for 10 seasons. He was 40 games above 500 at Texas Tech. And slightly above 500.
What year was his first year at Texas Tech?
2000 was his first year.
I'll give you an idea.
He was there from 2000 to 2009. He was fired after that 2009 season because of the Craig James kid incident.
So prior to 2000.
Yeah, what are we looking at in the
Spike
late 90s?
Dykes. We had Spike. Is that Sonny's dad?
Spike Dykes?
Spike Dykes.
Did you say, excuse me?
No, I'm quite literally Spike Dykes. Okay. Spike Dykes in the Big 12 was 6-5. 7-5, 7-5, 9-3. Spike Dykes 9-3.
Not bad. Spike Dykes, good coach.
God, Spike Dykes was there a very long time. I just don't have a memory of those Spike Dykes teams. And then before that, it was some Jerry Moore, Rex Dockery.
Yeah.
It's not a very good program. Largely 7-5, 9-3.
But better than, I think the larger point there would be better than the job that he took over at Washington State. Because Washington State
Leach upped it from Spike Dykes.
Dude, when he upped it for sure, but he wasn't taking over a winless Washington State program or a gutter Washington, like he did when he took. He wasn't taking over a Texas Tech program that was in the gutter the way that he was when he took over Washington
drove
State.
That thing
that was
into
as
the
bad
ground,
as you
dude.
could possibly. It was like Jonathan Smith taking over Oregon State after Gary
Yes.
Anderson,
Yeah.
and you got to totally rebuild it. And it took him 3 or 4 years. They finally got to 9 wins in 2015. Once he got it humming, he won 9 games in 15, 8 games in 16, 9 games in 17. Had the 11-2 year in 2018. And then they slipped a little bit the next year without Gardner Minshew, and they went 6-7, losing their bowl game.
Yep.
And then he ultimately left for Mississippi State. But he had a 5-year stretch there where they were humming at a very high level, and one of the best stretches we've ever seen in Washington State history. I think I agree with you that Washington State's the first place that I think of.
What's the poll results so far?
It is Wazoo running away with it. Now, part of that is our audience that we're polling. 75% of people say the Cougs.
It would be interesting. Because you put this in Texas, it's probably going to be Texas.
Or just if you had a national poll question of what do you think of first.
I'd be curious on that. The national,
I think it'd be close.
Yeah, well, I think it'd definitely be close because I think you can make arguments for both. The higher success was at Texas Tech. Everybody will remember the Crabtree play.
Yes, the win over Colt McCoy in Texas
at the buzzer, and also like a game day and Minshew magic and. Luke Falk, I'll never forget his first start was against my Beavs, and he torched them.
Threw it like 77 times in a game.
Pissing off Nick Aliotti.
Yes.
Oh, how dare you throw it that many times a game?
I forgot about
One
that.
of the all-time weirdest things to be mad about.
How dare you throw the football so much?
Oh, yeah, 81 times? Are you kidding me? What did you want him to do?
This isn't real football.
Air raid coach.
Run the ball.
He's also just a fascinating dude. What his interests were, what he talked about. His coaching philosophies, his style, almost left to Tennessee, but they backed out of that deal. And then, kind of weirdly just left for Mississippi State because I think he wanted to go to the SEC. It was
he was close on Tennessee, remember? And then the fans boycotted.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They heard that he was going to get hired, and they're like, don't you dare. And they pulled it. So,
yeah.
I'm really going to be happy that he's going to get his shine this weekend. I hope that they can beat Texas Tech. It's a great, perfect game to do this for.
7:00, crowd should be great. Weather's perfect.
Now, my buddy texted in earlier on my phone and said, statues are given for people who are dead. And I think he's probably largely right, but I would say, I think in this instance, even if Leech, well, you wouldn't give it to him because he was coaching, I guess, but even if he was alive and retired, I think he gets a statue.
I am all for statues for alive people. So that they can see the stat. Like, that's the whole point of the statue.
But then what if you're Ronaldo and you've put in all this plastic surgery work to look like an Adonis,
and
your statue is just outright ugly?
I mean, I'm not saying they get every statue right. You have the mini Allen Iverson statue. Remember that one in Philly? And that one like tiny or something? So
I can never see the resemblance in the Hall of Fame busts.
No, I can't either. I have a hard time doing
Every time
it.
I see it, I'm like, that doesn't look like him at all.
But like, think of Griffey up in Seattle when they put that statue in, and he's there and unveiling it and taking pictures. Like, that's cool. Like, you meant that much to us that you will forever be cemented in the legacy of this franchise. And we kind of joked about it when it happened a few years ago. TCU did this with Gary Patterson. They built a statue of Gary Patterson. And then they ended up firing him as their head coach a couple of years later. But he was so good for so long that it made sense. And I'm like, that's cool, dude. Like, honor him. He's been such a pivotal part of your program and the history of it. We saw it in Philly. He had the Doug Peterson, Nick Foles statue that was built after the Super Bowl. They're still alive. So I'm like, Mike Leach is gone. He'll never see it if they build it. But if I were a Kook fan, I would be A-okay with building the Pirate statue, man. That was a fun era of Washington State football, and he brought you from the depths of despair to relevancy and notoriety and awesome, fun football to watch. Some great Pac-12 After Dark games. It'll be fun to honor him this weekend.
I think my statue ultimately is Butch T. Cougar hugging or standing next to him with his arm around Mike Leach, who's wearing the sombrero.
Yes. That's a good statue.
That's the statue I think I want that kind of shows you what this time was. It was wild. It was a party. It was a lot of fun.
What a ride.
Very memorable.
One of my favorite bets this weekend, if I go gamble college, Washington State.
Are they getting points?
They're 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
I love
Tech
that.
Looked pretty.
That's a Coug win right there. I'm calling it right now. You heard it here first.
Man.
That environment's going to be awesome. We will make that pick and the other picks coming up in 15 minutes. Our NFL picks kick out the final hour. It is loaded. NFL football is back. Thanks for being with us. Final hour next on 1080 The Fan.
WJJ HD2 Portland.
Everything is better when they do it.
I'm not disappointed.
1080 The Fan, an Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, NFL football is back, baby. The Kansas City Chiefs going to raise another Super Bowl banner, then start pursuit of a third consecutive Lombardi trophy. Never been done in the Super Bowl era. They start in an AFC title rematch against the Ravens. 5:20 kick on KGW Channel 8. Chiefs 3-point favorites. Even without the contract extension he was hoping for, Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase suited up, returned to practice in Cincinnati on Wednesday, participating in some drills, leading to speculation he could play in Sunday's opener against the Patriots. All is well in L.A. for Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, who says the plantar fasciitis he dealt with in the preseason gone. His foot is 100% for their season opener against the Raiders. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's The Fan in your office and every room of your home.
I will counteract the schedule. You're not wrong about the challenging nature of it. You know how many outdoor games they play this year?
Not a lot.
Just a couple.
Like, legitimately 3 outdoor games all season.
The Bears.
The Packers.
Bears and Packers in the division on the road, and I think they only have one not, like, they play at the like, go look through their schedule and find how many outdoor games they have. And Jared Goff's numbers outdoors and in a dome, not even close. I will take Man Campbell and the Lions and do it again. NFC South, who do we like?
I'm going to take the Falcons.
I like when the Congo one comes on. It's just like,
makes you want to Congo with your football picks. I'm taking the Falcons.
How dare you?
I've gone back and forth on the Bucks
Just
with
stay
this
off
one.
Kirkers. Don't take Kirkers.
I'm taking the Falcons.
Don't touch
Well, we
my
know
guy.
from my hot take earlier, I'm taking the Falcons.
Yeah.
But at the end of the season, it will be Michael Penix Jr.
You
under
got big
center.
Penix energy.
Nobody's feeling the New Orleans Saints. No.
I think Spencer Rattler's going to be the quarterback of that team in like 5 weeks.
Rattler's my guy. I too will take the Falcons. You know, I feel about my boy Kirkers. They got a good team. Stay healthy. They win the division. They were almost over
I saw
500.
a few
with
of the schedule rating things, and
Ritter.
according to most of them, the Falcons have
Very
the easiest
easy.
schedule.
Saints could be the team that proves me the most wrong this year.
Yeah,
they're one of the worst teams in my mind going in.
Bucks are a pretty trendy pick down there too. I mean, they were obviously
they should be.
last
They brought
year.
a lot back.
Yeah, good little team. NFC East, dealer's choice. Where do we go there?
I'm gonna keep trusting what I see in the regular season. I have questions of Dallas's defense and playmakers outside of CeeDee Lamb, but I'm gonna take the Cowboys.
Well, yeah, the Cowboys will just pile up wins in the regular season.
12-5 every year, baby.
And then they'll
lose in the first round.
They lay their eggs in January.
Yeah, their eggs come later in the year. They don't lay a lot of regular, unless you take them in a survivor pool. Then they will lay a regular season egg on you.
I think there's value here for Philly, by the way.
I do too. This is a weird, who do I trust more? Dallas and their failures and their incompetence as an organization?
Dallas is used to, when they, something goofy happens in the regular season, they just seem to be oblivious to it. I think the problem for the Eagles is if it unravels early,
it's going to be too noisy.
It's going to
That's where you can fire a coach.
Completely.
Yeah, there's bad relationships there. For that reason, oh God, the kiss of death, 3 for 3 on the Cowboys winning the NFC East. AFC West, anybody going outside of Kansas City?
No.
Okay. Let me write those down.
Thought about it.
Chargers aren't ready yet.
I have the Chargers
Harbaugh
in the
needs a
playoffs.
year to get in there and
considered it. Okay.
I think they can make a playoff.
I didn't write down. I wasn't going to do wild card teams here, but if you have
That's
a wild
fine.
card
No,
team
that's
in your
fine.
AFC
No,
NFC
I think
side,
the Chargers are a wild card team.
AFC North, Ravens, the reigning champs. Do they do it again?
Yes, narrowly. Because I'm hoping Burrow stays healthy and makes this interesting. Cleveland, like Deshaun saying, I'm elite still.
Still elite.
Like, okay, I'll see that. And Pittsburgh, I think, is the worst team in that division.
I'm going to go with the Bengals. I'm going to have some faith that finally Joe Burrow can play at least 15, 16 games. Jamar Chase will figure it out. T. Higgins, I think, could have a huge year. He's playing for
him and
contract.
Chase are playing for contracts.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well,
Chase hasn't gotten
gonna
paid
get
yet.
his. They just the
He hasn't gotten
Bengals
it.
because he's got 2 years left, and the Bengals don't want to.
This is when you pay him. I mean,
Mike Brown's a cheap bastard. That's why they're not
they
paying
are the
him.
cheapest organizations out
not,
there.
Not a good omen for the future, although they did pay Burrow. I too will take Cincinnati. I think they're kind of my team in the AFC this year with Burrow back healthy. I think they're just forgotten a little bit. I love the Marshall Mathers hair, loaded on offense, and when he's healthy and finishes the season, they're usually in the mix, and so I'm going to take them to win the AFC North this year. AFC South, are we all buying into the Texans hype to back-to-back win the division?
Yeah,
No.
you're not.
Ooh.
Are you going Colts? What? Jags?
Damn it, Swigard.
Dirt's been on the Jags since he nailed it.
Don't take
2
my
years ago.
don't take my Jags thunder
He's gonna
away.
die with the Doug Peterson ship. He is just gonna go down with that
Get
ship.
you one of these, baby.
I will take the Texans.
Okay, Texans. I will take Jacksonville. Very interesting division. Tennessee probably sucks. Outside of that, you tell me the Colts win it, Texans win it, Jags win it, not really surprised. All of them were slightly above average last year as a 500 division.
I'm a little worried about the Colts.
A little bit worried?
A little, because I like Steichen. What's around him, and what if Richardson is truly awful?
Yeah, what if he gets hurt again, too? Could get hurt again.
What if
Flacco.
Jonathan Taylor gets hurt again? Then?
Yeah. AFC East, division you can go any direction. Where do we go?
Miami.
The Dolphins.
The Dolphins.
The Bills. They will be free from Stephon Diggs' drama. And I think Josh Allen will just relax and just
relax.
take what defenses give them and not try to overdo it this year.
Calm down. I, too, will take the Miami Dolphins
damn it.
to win the division.
You were going to go the Bills.
Nobody's really gone out on a limb on any pick so far. We haven't had any,
I
Jacksonville probably the most outlandish pick.
I don't think it's outlandish.
Does that even
really
count?
odds.
Yeah.
Texans are favored to win it, but I think the Jags are
Not
right
by much,
there.
yeah. Okay, last but not least, AFC Championship matchup. Who over who?
I am going to go Buffalo over Houston.
Bills over Texans. Okay, Swag.
The Bengals over the Chiefs.
It's the same for him.
Bengals over Chiefs.
That's why you got to go on a limb like I did.
NFC title game. Who over who?
Packers over Lions.
An NFC North, NFC title game.
NFC North title game.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yep.
Swag?
The Falcons over the 49ers.
Hey, at least we got the same matchup, but a different result. I'm going to take the 49ers over the Atlanta Falcons. So
the same in both your conference championship games. That's so cute.
If you're a 49er fan and a
Falcon
Falcon
with
fan,
your Chargers jersey today.
the kiss of death. Sprague, do you have the Packers or the Bills winning the Super Bowl?
I have the Buffalo Bills breaking tables and surprising everybody.
Bills over Packers.
Bills over Packers.
Be a fun nostalgia 90s Super Bowl, wouldn't it?
I'm sorry
Those two
for the
jerseys?
kiss of death Bills fans.
Yeah, you never want to be picked. Swag, do you have the Falcons or the Bengals winning the Super Bowl?
The Bengals over the Falcons.
Wow.
Bengals
They're
over
also
Falcons.
kind of breaking through. They haven't won that thing.
No.
Had some heartbreak in the 80s with the Niners.
Yeah, I will take the 49ers over the Bengals.
Wow.
Like it's the 1980s all over again.
There we go. Matchup.
People keep praying on the downfall. Maybe this is the year.
I'm not praying on it. I'm just hoping it doesn't happen.
Well, praying is probably not the right word. Predicting the downfall. People
Yeah.
keep saying this. I just feel like
It's
I've
hard
heard
to get
that.
back there when you lose, though.
No
That's
doubt
the
about
thing.
it, man. Nick Costos, our buddy, you bet. I saw him doing a big bit on that the other day. The number of teams who have lost the Super Bowl largely fail and fall short the next year. The Niners have been in, what are we at? 5 years now where they're basically been in the Super Bowl or the NFC title game every year, no matter who their quarterback is. They got most of the roster intact. That window will close in the next 2 to 3 years unless Brock Purdy becomes a top 5 quarterback in the league, just because financially it's hard to make that make sense. But I'm just not there on it closing yet, and it's been another offseason and training camp of freaking out. Last year, everybody freaked out in training camp, and then they went into week 1 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And the Steelers were a trendy pick. Oh, Niners.
had it.
And they went in there and just kicked the ass out of them.
They did.
So I preview for Sprague in the line tomorrow, but I think the Niners get it done this year.
The thing about the Niners is interesting is people do keep predicting when that downfall is going to happen. I think I go the opposite way of Acostos, who I really enjoy listening to. He's like, there's no way I'm ever betting them. And I'm like, you're getting 3-1 value. It's kind of a ridiculous stance to not just say, put a couple bucks on a team.
Kyle Shanahan's a good coach. They got a good roster. They're going to be in the mix this year.
Can I ask you quickly?
Yeah.
If Kyle Shanahan got Patrick Mahomes with no offensive line and got that Brady title, and he has a Super Bowl,
different conversation
I
completely.
just think it's really interesting that because he hasn't, it's the quarterback thing you said earlier, because quarterbacks haven't won, we knock them. If Shanahan has a title, I don't think we're questioning where he is if he's not at the top for people.
No, and also it is, Lillard kind of went on this rant a few years ago, I remember in the NBA circles, but basically saying he was frustrated that the only thing that we value is shit. We act like nothing else matters. Winning seasons don't matter.
Yes.
Playoff runs don't
Fun
matter.
teams
Conference
don't
titles
matter.
don't matter. Like nothing. Getting to a Eastern Conference Finals or Western Conference Finals. The only thing that we credit is winning a championship, and that's the thing that makes me laugh about the 49ers of yeah, dude, they got a bit of a Bills situation going on right now. They haven't broken through and won in the last handful of years. They've been really close. Let's also not act like it's easy to just go to the NFC title game every year.
But that's kind of my thinking.
Because if it was anybody,
Shanahan's in the hot seat.
what?
Why?
No.
Well,
Every
the other
other team
problem
would
is
want
they got,
Iowa.
6 of those trophies in the building?
Five.
Five that are
stuck on 5, yeah.
They
lording over him.
I've watched my team lose 3 times in the Super Bowl in my adult life. It's been
They were at 1.5-0 in Super Bowls. Now they're 5-3.
Yeah.
Record is slipping. Record is slipping. There you go. Your NFL picks for the entire season. I wrote these down. They're on my show sheet. We'll look back and laugh. And nobody really going out with any kind of wacky, wonky, crazy picks this year.
Well, we didn't do wild card picks, so there could be some wonky,
Very
wacky
true.
things in there. But
very true.
Yeah.
It's fun to look at division winners, and we'll laugh at this as the year goes on. Let's get to our Big PP picks. A 2-2 start for everybody. Are we bringing the Big Wood again this week?
Big Wood's still in here?
We'll find out next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
Here to throw out a special ceremonial first pitch on behalf of the 4 Washington Spirit gold medalists. Please welcome Croy Bethune.
That was the announcer of the Nationals game where Croy Bethune went to go throw out the first pitch. He's a rookie for the Washington Spirit in the NWSL, coming off being a part of the U.S. Olympic team that won gold. And throwing the first pitch, she tore her meniscus and is now out for the year.
Oh, my God. I was like, what are we doing in this report? That is an awful story to hear about.
Talk about bad ways to get injured.
By the way, that's now officially the Magic Johnson Washington Spirit.
Oh, he owns that team?
Partial.
Partial. Yeah, he's the face of it. Yeah, it's a brutal way to go out and go down for the entire year.
I hate that baseball team the rest of the year.
I think you kind of have to. Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Bradford Black, visit rocpdx.com.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, a Kiss Your Sister start to our Big PP picks. For those who are new to this segment, we're just going to pick the 4 teams in Oregon and Washington every single Thursday at 8:15. And so Washington State, Oregon, Washington. We'll pick them every week. We all took the same favorite. We all took the favorites last week.
Yeah, we probably should have been questioning out loud. I mean, anytime you get to 40 plus, it's like
Yeah, that line closed at 47.5.
We just blindly went in on that with knowing nothing about Idaho.
So we all got the same games right, the same games wrong. The Cougs did cover against Portland State. They won by, 40? 50, yeah,
70 to 30, I believe.
The Huskies covered. They were 27.5. They won by 32.
Yeah, 35 to 3.
Your Beavs were favored by 28.5. They ended up winning by 23. 23. And Oregon, we know, 43.5 point favorite, won by 10. So 2-2 starts for everybody in the Big Peep Beep picks. Let's start out, and we will go up into Seattle. That is the first game of the slate for these four teams. They play at 12:30 on the Big Ten Network.
Take a bye week, Husky fan.
They are at home against Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
And this line is Huskies minus 24.5.
Are we all taking this? It's Eastern Michigan.
I mean, it was Idaho.
Yeah, but they beat Weber State by 35. I don't know if Eastern Michigan's a whole lot better than Weber State.
It was just Idaho State.
If you guys want to go the opposite way, God bless you. I'm not actually gambling any real money on this game. I will take the Huskies with that point spread.
Okay, Swag?
I think I will, too. I mean, I know Weber State is a Big Sky school. You're now playing a MAC school, but
who's Eastern Michigan's football coach?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Dirt?
I mean, the idea, I love after we're off of a week in which Oregon almost lost to Idaho, we're pretending as if there's no chance that this game's even close.
No, I'm just saying, I was
like,
curious
we're just
if you
like,
knew.
No, I have no clue. I can't tell you anything about
Eastern Michigan football.
Like, didn't we learn last week, though, that, like, we shouldn't do this to games?
Or we learned your team's overrated.
Or
I don't
my
know.
team just sucks.
Wait and see.
I mean, we did it with the Oregon State game, too. That was a 17-9 game at the half.
All right, are you going Eastern Michigan?
I am. Why not? Give me the Eastern Michigan Fighting whatever the hell they are.
Eagles.
The Eagles, the Fighting Eagles. I think I might go some dogs this weekend. Kind of learned my lesson the hard way. I will take Eastern Michigan. Huskies will win the game, but you tell me it's a 24-point win.
But if they don't win,
38-14, and that's your final score. That's a covered spread.
It's 24.5.
24.5. Yeah, you got a hook there. No, you're not changing your pick. You can't go on that rant.
Change my pick.
No,
I haven't laid the money down.
It's already been written down. Next game up, 7 o'clock Saturday night on Fox. We just talked about it a little bit ago. The Cougs at home against Mike Leach's former team, Texas Tech. Washington State's favored by 2 in this game.
John Mateer's going to rip a hole in that butt.
Okay.
Yeah, Cougs by less than a field goal at home on Pirate Day. Yeah, I'll take the Cougs.
Are they actually calling it Pirate Day?
I don't
Because they
know.
should. That'd be really funny.
They're going to be housed at the start of that kickoff.
Yeah, this game, this was one of my favorite bets of the weekend.
All the
if I were
vibes.
gonna
This is
drive
a
up.
vibes pick.
Vibes game. They're at home. Fox, nationally televised. Power for opponent. You've been demoted. You're ready to show everybody the Big 12 ain't S, and we can beat this team. And Texas Tech did not look good last weekend. I am all over the Cougs this weekend. Only getting or laying 2. Love that pick. Washington State -2. Your Beavs 7:30 kick on the CBS Sports Network. They are on the road at San Diego State. The DraftKings line currently on this game is Oregon State -6.
Yeah, this line keeps going up.
Keeps going up in favor of the Beavs.
I think it opened at like 4 or 4.5.
I'm nervous.
It did, yeah. I think it might even have been smaller than that.
Maybe
but San Diego
3.5.
State did not look good last weekend.
Well, the first half certainly was
They scored
awful.
6 points in the first half against a school we've never heard of.
This is nerve-wracking for me, and it makes the segment a little boring if this is how it keeps going. But I'm going to take the Beavs and hope they can separate themselves and win by 10.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing I think you're pretty confident after watching the opener is they got 2 running backs. They can run the football if all else fails, and I think they can do that against San Diego State and cover a touchdown.
You take that, Hank, and you jam it down their throat.
You run the ball.
That's what you do.
And you run the ball again.
Be careful, Aztecs.
And you run the ball again. Although San Diego State did hold mighty Texas A&M Commerce Lions to only 1.9 yards per carry.
Do you brag about getting into that?
34 carries for only 63 yards. So feisty run defense there for the Aztecs.
Like in a movie, it'd be like, hey, Harry got into A&M. What? And then you go to the party and it's like, well, it's A&M Commerce.
A&M Commerce. The line, their logo looks like a Game of Thrones character. And
It's not a real school, right?
It's not a real school, no. I should also add to the addendum here, they were trailing at the half.
6-3.
6-3.
Yeah.
And then outscored them 42-8 in the second half. The depth of San Diego State, you just don't discount.
Well, it's a rebuild for Sean Lewis.
It is, unquestionably.
And I think they have good fans, but it's a rebuild, so I don't think those fans will be as hostile. It'll be cooler, too. Won't be as hot in the day because it's a night kick, so that's a benefit. A&M Commerce sounds like the fake high school that Netflix did a doc on.
Yeah, with Bishop Sycamore or whatever.
Yeah. That's not real.
I'll be curious, too. I don't know how much hype there is down there in San Diego for the Aztecs and Oregon State.
I think when they're good, there's some hype, but I don't think they're good this year.
But San Diego's a great destination. I imagine
a lot of Beaver fans, you would think, right?
Maybe
Making the
trip
trip down.
School's not in. I could see students road tripping too.
Dude, it's not a week you really need to pay attention to college football in anyway.
No, it's a really bad weekend.
So if you go on a road trip, this is the road trip.
I think there might be a fair amount of orange and black in the stands too.
Wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I am still a little concerned about their passing attack. They didn't have to show us much in week one. Look, San Diego State's not going to be able to bottle up the run completely for Oregon State. They still have a very good offensive line.
Yeah.
But I didn't leave that first game overly impressed. It was a dogfight in the first half. They eventually pulled away, but Idaho State had some plays to be able to be made. I think San Diego State's better than that, so I will take the Aztecs to cover. I think Oregon State wins, but you tell me it's a 27-24 game, something like that. I think Oregon State wins, but I will take those points, getting them +6.
The San Diego State, so I just looked it up. Danny O'Neal is their quarterback. 214 yards against A&M Commerce.
Throwing the ball?
I was just curious what the passing attack
They
was.
ran the ball a ton in that. I mean, it's Texas A&M
San Diego State,
Commerce.
they had Cooper. Marquez Cooper had 223 yards on the ground.
Last but not least, the Peacock game on Saturday night, right here on the Fan as well. 7 o'clock, Oregon hosting Boise State. Now, this line has fluctuated a ton. The current line via DraftKings that we cannot gamble but should be able to gamble, it opened at 18.5. It has been bet up. According to Vegas Insider, it opened at 18.5. Been bet up to 20. Oregon -20 is your current line on DraftKings.
That's right at a line, and I'm not going to blame either of you for maybe taking points here. I have one more week. One more week of me thinking the Oregon that I thought in my head was going to be there week one and didn't show up redeems themselves. I think matchups matter, and I think Boise State's probably better than Idaho. However,
Idaho's a bad matchup for us.
However, Idaho is such a run-heavy offense that I think if you can limit Ashton Jainty, you should be able to run away with this one. So I will give Oregon one more week of benefit of the doubt, and then I will be questioning spreads in every game going forward. I'll take Oregon minus the 20.5.
Minus the 20 to win by 3 tutties.
3 tutties.
Swag.
If he can run it up, he will run it up on
Oh,
them.
they will.
He's
for sure.
pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I still think I think the Ducks might get out ahead 30 at some point, and then he's going to want to get the second and third units, the reps that they didn't necessarily get in the Idaho game. This screams backdoor cover to me.
Okay.
So I will take the points. I'm looking at A-Lene. The over-under is 61.5. I think the play is the over.
The over is the play.
Well, I mean, they gave up 45 to Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
You should be able to score. Maybe
Oregon
50.
should be able to score into the 50s.
Yes.
Yeah, this is one I can't blame anybody for feeling either side on this. I tend to lean your line of thinking of like, one more week. You got one more week. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Shame on me, yes.
Fool me 3 times, you won't get fooled again. And I will take Oregon to cover the spread.
Until you pick them next week against the Bees.
Then I have to. And then if we struggle this week and don't cover, that's a straight up pick next week.
No,
you're not getting any
you
points.
get out of here with
We're
that.
struggling. We can't be. We're struggling with Mountain West and Big Sky teams, man. You're not getting any points.
The talent composite.
The mighty
difference, get
Bees.
out of
Come
here.
on. Play it straight up. You need strokes? You can beat us straight up, can't you?
You coward.
All that trash talk in the offseason. You guys chirping from over there. Play it like a man, bitch.
Well, if we slaughter San Diego State and you struggle Boise State, you're probably
I'm getting points. I'm on 5.5. I'm getting points.
Get out of
Give me
here.
points. I will take Oregon minus the 20. there you go. Our big PP picks. We love doing that segment, and we will do it every Thursday. We'll joke about all the games we get wrong, and we'll pick them again next Thursday for the Week 3 slate in college football. The NFL is back, baby. What do we feel about this team? Final thoughts on them. We'll dive in a little bit more in tonight's matchup between Kansas City and Baltimore. Back after this first. Here's Swag with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, yes, the 2024 NFL regular season kicks off tonight as the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, as is custom, hosting opening night. They get an AFC title game rematch against the Ravens. 5:20 kick on KGW Channel 8. Chiefs holding as a 3-point favorite. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert telling the media in LA his foot is 100% after sitting out the preseason with a bout of plantar fasciitis. They open the season Sunday against the Raiders. In Cincinnati, Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase was back at practice, even though he didn't get his contract extension. Participated in some drills, and there is speculation he will suit up and play in Sunday's opener against the Patriots. At the U.S. Open, American Jessica Pegula took down the top seed Iga Swiatek, getting to her first Grand Slam semifinal, and she will face unseeded Karolina Muchova tonight. First up, though, it'll be fellow American Emma Navarro taking on the second seed Arina Sabalenka of Belarus. Coverage starts 4 o'clock on ESPN. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swangard from the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand at the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's the Fan in your office and every room of your home. This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Well, I do have a question that needs answering. If my university wins a national championship in a TV show, do I get to count it? Does that count as much as the Huskies fake half a title?
Well, it's not fake, it's real.
Does that count? We go halvesies? Chad Powers wins one. Fake Huskies title, even up?
Well, no, but you get to brag that you had Glenn Powell in a duck uniform.
So this is
the hottest movie star in the world
this shows,
rocking a duck uniform.
This shows how unplugged that I am. This is really embarrassing.
I
to
was
admit.
shocked you didn't know this.
I don't even know who Glenn Powell is.
Twisters?
I haven't seen it.
Top Gun Maverick?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen either.
He is.
Is he like the hottest thing right now?
It's
He's
like
the big
him,
deal?
Tom Cruise, and Ryan Reynolds.
It's that big of a deal?
He is the biggest movie star in the world right now.
So this, I guess, it's almost like a Ted Lasso thing.
You've not seen anything with Glenn Powell in it?
No, I don't think so. I'll look up his IMDb.
No pictures, no TMZ, no...
I mean, I've heard of the name. Like, I genuinely, I guess...
He's like an all-American looking guy,
Yeah.
great looking dude, the new action movie star, but does some comedy stuff too.
And that's what this is. So I had totally forgotten about this. So there's pictures that have been surfaced online of him wearing an Oregon Duck uniform, which ironically I think are the uniforms. Now, a lot of connections here. I believe they're the uniforms that they wore when they blew a 40-point lead to TCU in the Holiday Bowl, which is like, thanks for that memory flashback, but I'll have to go cross-reference that. They also were filming this in Atlanta at the Falcon Stadium, but he has a Rose Bowl patch on the jersey, which okay, what are we doing here?
Green screens.
Green screen. We're just playing this in at the Atlanta Dome, but it's a Rose Bowl patch. Like, let's connect the dots.
I'm everything in George cheaper.
So this is, it almost feels like a Ted Lasso thing, because remember, Ted Lasso started as a spoof on European League soccer.
On SNL.
And it was, and all of a sudden, Sudeikis made it into a TV show. And I remember the announcement, everybody's like, that's a TV show?
I remember trashing that on the
so
air.
Stupid.
Of like, this is not going to succeed. What are we doing?
And now they're coming out with another season. Everybody's back, and I can't wait for it, because give me more of it. I love that TV show.
Same here.
So Eli Manning did the Chad Powers thing a few years ago, where he went to, I think it was Penn State.
It was an open tryout.
Tryout, and he put the long hair on and a mustache, and he was Chad Powers trying out for the team.
30-year-old quarterback.
They're now making this into a TV show, and Glenn Powell is Chad Powers, and Glenn Powell is a washed-up former quarterback, and I think what they were filming are flashbacks to his days at Oregon, and he's wearing an Oregon Duck uniform.
And this is the genius that your school gets that a lot of schools don't understand. Marketing 101. Be seen and be talked about.
Yeah.
And this is what they are. This is why people root against them, is because of things like this. They always find themselves in the conversation or being a part of the conversation. And I saw this. I get jealous of good marketing, and this is genius. Like, who cares if it's even just a little flashback in one episode? The fact that you got Glenn Powell in a uniform makes me jealous and wonder, how come the Beavs didn't make that happen? I love Glenn Powell in a Beaver uniform.
Have you seen Twisters or Top Gun 2, Swag?
I saw Top Gun Maverick.
You saw, okay, the new Top Gun.
I have not seen.
So you're familiar with
Twisters.
Glenn Powell's work?
So you know Glenn Powell?
Yes.
He is the
familiar?
incredibly
I
good-looking
do know
dude.
who he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
The hunky dude in the movie that's flying the jets.
He's the guy that makes you go, oh my God, is Tom Cruise mad that this guy's on the movie?
He's stealing his thunder. Is that what you're telling me?
He's kind of the cocky sniffing, up-and-coming jet pilot who's incredibly good-looking.
Well, if Chad Powers wins a natty at Oregon, I'm counting it, man. That counts.
He's got
That's half
Hitman.
title.
That's on Netflix.
Okay,
I want to say it's
Haven't seen that.
Netflix only. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I will scroll through his IMDb. I'm curious if I've seen anything that he's actually been in. I'm sure that I
don't think you have.
I probably.
He's not that
big
old, so he's kind of new to the scene.
Those are two movies that are on my list to watch, but I just have not done so yet. I'm not good at catching up with shows and movies, and I always say I'm gonna go watch that, and then months go by, and I'm like, hey, I still haven't seen that movie, and then it becomes a thing where people yell at me about not seeing movies.
Have you seen Oppenheimer yet?
I have seen Oppenheimer. I finally did Oppenheimer.
Have you seen the Barbie movie?
I never saw Barbie.
No.
Never did Barbie.
Surprised you didn't do like a date night with the wife at home watching that.
No, I should have seen it in theaters. I finally watched Oppenheimer when I was on leave, and I'm pretty sure it took a total of 14 hours to watch that movie. Because it was when we were on, he was crying and fussy, and so we had like 45 minutes, and we're like, all right, I got to go do something with the baby, and then you sit back down, and then you're tired because it's 8 o'clock at night, and you go to sleep, and then you keep it up the next day. So I finally got through it, but it took a long time.
It's probably a good thing that you don't know, but like also, I got to admit, it's a little shocking to me that you didn't know who Glenn Powell was.
It's totally fair. Totally fair. I'll accept all criticism there. That's on me. Right hand up. That's on me. But he is, that's a new TV show. Those pictures are out there. We are a couple of days away from an interesting opening game in the NFL, and that is Bo Nix getting his first start on the road in Seattle.
That's team captain Bo Nix.
That's right. He is a captain now. I always love that. That's big news that, is there a starting quarterback in the NFL that's not a captain on their team? Can we play with that fun game instead of, like, of course he's a captain. He's a starting
I think there was somebody last year that wasn't a team captain.
Was there?
I don't know. Who would it be?
Because that to me that's the headline, not rookie quarterback is named. Every quarterback is a captain for their
Is
team.
Kyler a
essentially.
captain?
Yes, I guarantee you Kyler Murray's a captain.
There was somebody like a year or two ago, and I was like, oh.
We'll see if the text
quarterback's not the team captain.
Can help us there. No, I don't.
Sam
The angles.
Darnold, the captain, and
no.
I would imagine he is now that he's the starting quarterback and he won the job. Like that's what you do. They just get the C automatically. They just sew it right onto the jersey. Whoever is the starting quarterback.
List of all 32 teams.
Yeah, see if you can find a quarterback that's not actually a captain. But I'm more interested in the other side of that on Sunday as well.
Oh, the Falcons last year. That's who it was.
Oh well,
Desmond Ridder was not going to be the
touche.
captain.
Touche. And the team that they're playing in Seattle, as they come in as nearly a touchdown favorite in their first game of just, I don't know, it's just a very interesting year for them where they have a new offensive coordinator. They have made Pete Carroll was such a staple there for 15 years, 14 years, however long he was in Seattle, wins the Super Bowl, gets to another one, consistently really good organization. A lot of that structure is still in place behind the scenes, but you have an unproven head coach, an offensive coordinator from the college ranks. You're not quite sure what your long-term plan is at quarterback, but you've also made moves on defense, and you address it again in the draft, last year in a trade, and in free agency. And so I find Seattle to be a very interesting team in an NFC that might be a little bit more open than we think. I know some people disagree on my Niners take and think that they're going to tank this year and they'll suck. Some people are high on the Rams. Packers might be that team. Like, NFC seems open, and I'm curious what Seattle can do to make noise in it this year.
Well, they're kind of a sleeper pick, too. There's people that are out there. I think Peter Schrager picked Mike McDonald to win the Coach of the Year. If that happens, that would tell me the Seahawks are a division winner or they're damn near close who are going to make the wild card.
They were 9-8 last year and 9-8 the year before.
And I kind of have them in that ballpark, an 8-9, 9-8 type team that might make the playoff or might lose a stupid game. They're interesting because it's a new regime. It's the first season without Pete Carroll since like 2010. I really like Ryan Grubb. I thought what he kind of developed with DeBoer. I'm fascinated to see what that looks like this year. Smith and Jigba, what kind of step does he take this year? Because I think Lockett's probably on his last year with Seattle. I think his contract is ending. And I like Tyler Lockett a lot. He's had a great career. But it feels like his play is dipping just a little bit. And so it's Smith and Jigba opposite DK. Those are two big-bodied dudes. What does that look like?
It'll be Lockett will be the odd man out
Kenneth
there.
Walker back again, and it's the offensive line. The interesting thing with Seattle is they're restarting everything regime-wise. And Geno's still the quarterback.
Yeah.
They haven't been put in a position. Very rarely you lose a franchise quarterback the way they lost Russ, and you can kind of just skate by without it. They haven't needed to. Geno's been fine. Now, I know his season last year wasn't as good for people, but as, real serious NFL pundits or analysts will tell you, last year wasn't a Geno problem. It was poor offensive line, injuries, defense was awful.
Yeah.
There was a combination of things that people don't place fully on Geno. I think many Seahawks fan, this is my guess, would tell you they don't view Geno as like a true 10-year franchise guy. But I think Geno Smith with the Seahawks, people don't mind it until they're forced in a position to have to pick one. So I'm not convinced that's Sam Howell either. I don't care what John Schneider says publicly. Not convinced it's Sam Howell. If McDonald can get that defense to improve even a decent amount, Reek Woolen having a kind of a comeback year after having a bit of a down year. We know Witherspoon's going to be really good. We'll see what Murphy is as a rookie. It's brutal to lose Nwosu.
Yeah.
But if they can be improved defensively, that's a team that's definitely going to make a lot of noise within their own division and in the wild card race.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because DK Metcalf was doing an interview the other day talking about their offense, and he gave the quote basically of their philosophy this year is going to be physical and run the football, and that's the identity that Mike McDonald wants to have as a head coach. And
he's a John Harbaugh disciple.
He's a John Harbaugh guy, and he's a defensive coach, so let's not throw our defense back out there and go a quick 3-and-out with 3 incompletions. And it's unique because you look at Ryan Grubb, and he's most known for what he did at Washington last year and airing it out and all those wide receivers and spread them out and sling the rock with Michael Penix.
But what was underrated about that
Their
offense?
rushing game in
Dylan
big
Johnson.
games. Exactly. And so they said when they took over, he came into the first offensive meeting and said, we're going to run the damn football, and that's going to be our philosophy. And so we'll see if that identity
set up
starts
the play
Sunday.
action and then drive the ball down the field, not dink and dunk. I think that's, you've got Metcalf, you've got Smith and Jigma, you got guys that can get open down the field. So, and Seahawks fans are not accustomed or demanding of having, the Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, you look over the years, there was Zorn forever. And
not a lot of
Hasselbeck took him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they know they're not winning a title. You're not winning a
Well,
title
I guess
without
what I
one.
would, yeah, well, I guess what I would
but
say
they
was
won their title based on a running attack and defense.
In defense, yeah.
So I don't think having
but Russ was
having
different.
a good enough quarterback for them doesn't preclude them in their minds from being competitive for a Super
I guess
Bowl.
the counter I would say to that too is, and I don't know how differently we felt, and the early success of his career was better than what Geno Smith did, but I mean, this is kind of what the Lions turned into, right? Like Stafford won it out. It was time for a breakup. They traded him. They got Goff back. When that trade happened, everybody thought, okay, Goff's a placeholder for 2 years, and then they're going to move on and find their guy. They were really bad. They were a bad team. Drafted better, got Penei Sewell, slowly rebuilt things. Aiden Hutchinson was the number 2 overall pick. And then you look up, and they're on the brink of the playoffs and a playoff team. So Jared Goff probably has a higher respect level than Geno Smith. Not probably, definitely does.
Yeah, Goff is better than
But
Smith.
but 3 years ago, what were we saying about Jared Goff? He was given up on by the Rams, and everybody thought this guy's a wash, and he's done in the NFL. He's going to be a backup, and now they find themselves as one of the front runners in the NFC. So I'm not saying Seattle's going to do that this year, but I think if you were a Seahawk fan looking for the optimistic angle, that's the angle that I would have gone of. Team that got rid of their franchise guy, got a guy that another team gave up on. Let's see what we can do with him. Built the roster around him. Don't need him to be everything, but is there enough in place now to be a playoff
So
team?
what's the ceiling with a Geno Smith-led team to you guys? Because I kind of view it as get to a wild card, but not necessarily win it. If you do, okay. But
I would say your ceiling is a divisional round team. I think you can get to a wild card round, win a game.
You think they're that capable this year?
I'm not going to pick it, but it wouldn't surprise me. If that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't gamble on it, but it is also the NFL.
No, I get
you know,
that. But going into it, do you feel like they're a divisional team?
I would not pick them to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I would not. Swag playoff team this year?
I think they need a lot of things to go their way. Health being most among them. They're already missing their best pass rusher.
Also, what does the division look like, too?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
do the
is
Niners
Arizona
take a step
improved?
back, or
Yeah,
are they
right.
the same team?
Or
Are
the
the
Rams?
Right.
Yeah. What are they without Aaron Donald? The Niners in this run that they've had, and
could be a tough division too.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just most curious. Offense, I'm not so much concerned about, despite how I feel about Geno. It is how much better is Mike McDonald going to make that defense? I have questions about certain positions on that team, and only time will tell.
Fun little opener, man. They're a 6-point favorite at home against Denver. Bo Nix, not great success in his career in Seattle, so he gets a chance to redeem that. And Seahawks play their first game Sunday right here on the Fan.
Which fan base is more optimistic about their team? Denver or Seattle? Because I think Denver fan, because of preseason action, has talked themselves into some funky stuff this year.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of that.
Bo Nix is 70+%.
Look how good he looks against third stringers.
Yeah.
Well,
Sean Payton finally has his guy.
I think it's just the hope and optimism of a rookie quarterback. Every fan base that has, like, Washington feels great, Chicago feels great, Denver feels great. We got our guy, man. We got our guy. That's first game on Sunday. Let's wrap it up with the final thoughts on Thursday Night Football. The NFL is back tonight. We got a poll question. We'll answer those results, and we'll close it up next on the Fan.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Oh, it feels so good, doesn't it?
It's the GOAT.
Feels so good, man.
It's the best one of all of them.
It's going to feel different on Sunday. I can't wait. Tomorrow is just going to be a jumbled mess because we're going to have Kansas City, Baltimore to react to. We're going to have to Sprague the line. I need a win tonight. I need to get on the board. I'm not even on the board yet.
You're 0 for 2?
I'm 0 for 2.
I got one pending on tomorrow night's game, which was kind of a mistake. So
I took Penn State to cover. That did not happen. West Virginia to cover against Penn State. And I took the under in Miami, Florida. And Miami damn near got it on their own. So,
this is why he stays away from college,
I guess. Dogs.
This is it. So I need.
Marking.
I have the under tonight of 46.5. That was my last Sprague the line pick. So I'm rooting for no points tonight. Punts.
24-20.
I'm perfectly fine with that, with the Baltimore win.
27-20.
So I got a game on the line tonight. We're going to have that Friday night game. We're going to have all the Oregon Boise hoopla, big weekend, for our teams to go get some wins this weekend and look good doing it. So we got all that to break down. Tomorrow is going to be a jumbled mess. Final thoughts on tonight's game. The line 3 and the over-under 46.5.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of probably lean the under. It's week 1. There's a lot of hype. You come in a little rusty, but I'm just looking forward to a Lamar-Patrick duel. This is what we get once a year now, it seems like. I'm excited about it. It's going to be great to have on my TV. And look, Mahomes is winning all the titles, all the trophies, all the contracts. I'm rooting for Baltimore, I think.
Definitely rooting for Baltimore.
I root for the Ravens to win this game, but also none of this matters win or lose.
No.
Do it in the playoffs.
It's a regular season game. No, they were debating earlier this morning on First Take, does Lamar need to win tonight? What if he wins tonight, are we going to say he's better than, what does that even mean? No. So, Aggie, you like a line? I'm going to stay away from gambling the game. I like Baltimore. Too. I'm going to root for Baltimore, but I don't know if I'm going to take a side.
Yeah,
here.
I don't know. It's... I want to see how Derrick Henry, how they implement him in, how big a role he will have, how much that takes off from Lamar Jackson having to scramble and run on 3rd and shorts as much as he used to. I want to see if Worthy, how the Chiefs work him into the offense.
How about Zay Flowers? Fumbled last year.
Had a
redemption
great
game. Rookie season. Yeah, a little bit of a redemption game for him. And do they abuse the opposite side of Trent McDuffie?
Yes.
In the secondary.
Where do they attack? Yeah. Can't wait, man. NFL football is back, and it feels good. Chiefs and Ravens tonight, NBC and Peacock, 5:20 kick.
And Dan Lanning on at 4 o'clock today.
Dan Lanning on at 4 o'clock with Isaac and Suk to preview the Boise State game. So that'll come up. We will have a lot of thoughts on that game tomorrow, the full weekend slate, recapping what happens tonight. Eagles and Packers. It's going to be a loaded Football Friday. That will do it for us, folks. If you missed any of the show, go check the podcast, 1080thefan.com. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of our Thursday. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Colin is next. You're listening to 1080 The Fan.
Brad Evans here to help you beat the books with BetQL.